What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Weeb Seen It podcast. This is episode 7, I believe. Yep. My name's Cam.
I'm Jimmy.
And we'll just get into the episode. Let's start discussing the anime. Go. And we're back. We're back with, this is what, our 7th episode?
I believe it is, yeah.
Because we've had 6 discussing current anime, and then 1, which was still discussing semi-current anime, but discussing the finales of all the shows.
Yeah, just wrapping up from the previous season, because a lot came out at one time.
Because shit was crazy. Yes, it was. So today's episode, we got, I think, 7 anime on the docket. One more than last week. Other than that, it's all the same. We added 1 in because the episode got a little interesting.
Yep.
And then we're also at the end just going to talk maybe a couple details about some of the other anime we've seen this week still, because there's so many. Yeah. And then other than that, I think we're just going to we are changing a little bit. We're going to start putting in the episode number and the title.
Yeah.
Make it a little bit easier if you're trying to search up a very specific episode, or if you're just hopping onto one of the episodes and you don't know which ones we're talking about.
Yeah.
Even I've noticed that. I've went back to rewatch some, and I'm like, well, which episode of Fire Force are we talking about here? Because I just wrote Fire Force.
Yeah, because even then, when we mention the number, it's not always easy to find by number. You might know it better by name. So
yeah, exactly. So we're doing that. Same with every episode. If you guys are watching this episode, make sure to leave a comment, even if it's about one specific anime episode. If you just watched this episode of Fire Force and you want to talk about that, leave us a comment about Fire Force. Yeah. Same as always, too, with all the anime right now. If there's an episode of a show that we're not talking about that you're watching, let us know, because we're watching them all. We have a bigger list of anime that we're watching that we're not talking about than that we are talking about. So just actually one of the ones we're adding to this week is The Wandering Witch.
Yep.
And one of the reasons, because a lot of people keep writing comments about how that's one of the ones they're watching. So we're watching it, so we're going to add it to this week's list and just kind of see how it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there's anything else other than that, just let us know. And then, of course, subscribe if you're on the video, drop a like, all that standard YouTube shit.
Yeah, we always appreciate any interaction. Comments are definitely our favorite, but anything's always appreciated.
Yeah, comments are the favorite. The likes and subscribes, that's really just to try and help out with the YouTube algorithm and shit, try and get a couple more people to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
And then, always be sure to check out, we have an Instagram account, too. It's just literally at Weeb Seen It. Sometimes I just post, what episodes of anime we're watching that week. Sometimes I post when these episodes are out. Simple stuff like that. Nothing crazy. We don't have a Twitter or anything really going yet, but
one day.
Yeah, we're not big social media guys, but yeah, Instagram and then Reddit we mainly just use to try and get the episodes out. So if you're watching this too, and you got friends who watch anime, just let them know. Send them it. Say, hey, you watched this episode of King's Raid. Look at these guys talk about it, and then maybe he'll come on and be like, oh sweet, I'll watch this one part about King's Raid. Fine with us.
Yeah, if you find something new to watch from us talking about as well, that's just an extra bonus, right? So.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so before we get started, I'm really thirsty. So let's crack open the old beverages. Not sponsored, by the way. Just very good flavor.
One day, maybe.
One day, maybe. Okay. We're getting right into it this week. The very first episode we're talking about is Noblesse, Episode 2, A Reason to Fight / Nobility.
Yeah, and I'm honestly still having really mixed feelings about Noblesse so far.
Yeah, I think one of the comments on our most recent video said it too, about how they dropped Noblesse, I think, just after episode 1. And I was like, okay, normally the area for us to drop something is between the 3 to 5 mark.
Yeah, 5 is definitely where I try and go for, just because it gives it a chance to turn around.
Yeah, and right now I won't really drop anything anyways, just because I want to watch it all to have this base of knowledge, especially while I have so much free time.
Oh, yeah.
Just in case, it picks up crazy. A Demon Slayer episode 19 is always a big thing to me. Now, that anime was popular the whole time. It didn't, but the amount of people that just started watching that from all the hype around that one specific episode.
Oh yeah, because it dialed it up from a 7.5 up to a 10 for that episode.
Yeah, so I don't want to be at this point where it's a Noblesse, episode 12 comes out in a few weeks and everyone's like, wow, this was such a good episode, watch this anime. And I dropped it at episode 2 then to get all back up to the spot.
Yeah.
I'll just, take the extra 20 minutes a week if it's not that good to have it. Yeah. I didn't think episode 2 was terrible.
It isn't. I think the biggest problem I'm having with it so far is that it just doesn't do context.
Yeah.
There's no explanation. There's no background.
You got a little bit inside this episode about you finally learn what the Noblesse is, and the definitely strong hints at I don't know if to call him the main character.
Yeah, I still don't know who that is.
His name's not the main character, but the Noblesse guy's name is what, Ray, I think?
Ray, something like that.
Something like that, yeah. So obviously there was this little bit of hint to plot revealed with the coffin. It's pretty strongly alluded to the fact that he was in the coffin, probably some sort of royal or supreme, even among the race of nobles or noblesses. And then you get a couple small clips of the stuff we're assuming is the stuff that happened before the episode 1 started. Yeah. Which once again is weird if we're gonna get that in OVA or if we're gonna get that in these episodes eventually, or if they're just never gonna touch on it at all.
Yeah.
It's a very strange way of dealing with things.
because we have no idea what's going on. You have no idea what's showing up because we just had 2 new characters show up.
Yeah.
They show up and they're like, "We're here and we're gonna figure this out." And they just walk into a building where a bunch of people got killed. It's
Yeah,
like,
we're like, we've never seen this building before. We were normally supposed to have some sort of hints.
yeah. Again, I think this is one of those things that was addressed with. I think there was an OVA that came up before the season. That without having seen it, we have absolutely no idea what's going on. We have no context.
Yeah, see, I'm not a big fan of when things do that. Even like it's not necessarily an anime, but a lot of the people complained about something like Final Fantasy 15. It had the movie, which was in the game. You're playing through the game, and like a couple hours in, all of a sudden there's this huge plot development that your characters don't see. They just hear about it through news. Yeah. And you have to watch the movie to see that. And then there's also this like 4-episode anime special that takes place before with some extra background information.
Yeah.
So it's like you're giving people a lot of different pieces of the puzzle, but in various media forms, which not everyone watches. Yeah. A lot of people who, if the OVA is not on Crunchyroll, there's a lot of people who only watch anime via Crunchyroll. Yeah. So they're going on to Crunchyroll, they're watching Noblesse, but they're not seeing anything extra. So unless they put these OVAs on there, which
the thing
obviously we hope.
There is an OVA on there, but it's under a different title.
Well, that's just confusing.
Yeah, because there's Noblesse, and then there's Noblesse, I think it's called The Awakening, which has the promotional video, and then it has one OVA, I believe.
Okay. I did not even know that.
Yeah, I saw that earlier today. I haven't watched it yet, and I'm hoping it'll actually explain a lot when I do. I just don't get why you would separate it like that.
But yeah, we talk about this a lot too, and it's about the it's just one of the standard things of filmmaking and stuff like that is where your main character normally gains information at the same time as you, the viewer. Yeah. That's just how it's very easily done. But in this one, not only are we not 100% sure who the main character is, but whoever it is, we're definitely not gaining information at the same pace as them.
I mean, I feel like maybe the red hair guy or maybe the guy with glasses, because they have absolutely no idea what's going on from the looks of it.
I guess. Yeah, maybe you could look at it like the perspective of we're the red hair guys, because, you know, he knows, or like he's been there, but then he got his memory erased, just like us. Maybe we've actually all seen it, but then our memory was erased. Much like him.
That would be one hell of a marketing thing if they did that.
If they found a way. Yeah, it's all the, like this one gave a little bit of information, like it gave us the Noblesse information, gave us a little bit about like the Ray guy or whatever his name is. Small hints with the coffin, maybe some plot, but I mean, like we still don't really understand like the Union, like what their stake is in all this.
Yeah, we don't know who the Union is. And they go into this whole thing about how the Noblesse took care of humans and they ruled over them as benevolent.
Yeah, they're like, humans are so weak, like we feel no threat from them, so we're like nice to them. We're just gonna we're like good to humans because they're so weak.
Which I do want to know, because these are vampires. There's no denying that. They got pretty freaking shafted based on their role in human history then. Based on the story that came out.
Because this is based in like a real world situation, right? So yeah, we know there's a lot of like vampire like lore and stuff like that, and none of that would be very good for them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they haven't come right out and say they haven't said vampire yet. There's been no blood drinking. There's nothing like that.
I don't know. Like there's the big things are like the compelling. Obviously, they have the ability, basically mind control. You know, the eyes, the skin, all that kind of stuff.
It's definitely going down that road, and if it's not vampires, it's a pretty close relative to them. So,
if anything that you would say, like, let's assume this was actually real. For instance, it would be that. All the stories of vampires, while they're not actually vampires, were just loosely based on these people, like this race over there, like the Noblesse.
I mean, I would still be pretty pissed if I was them. We took care of you, we protected you, and this is what we get.
Yeah, then we wrote a bunch of tales about you being evil, and then we kill you all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, once again, it was a better episode, I think, than the first one. I liked the whole part where they have to fight again. The main character keeps getting in a bunch of fights to protect his friends. You know, very classic.
I do want to note something about that. This is supposed to take place like less than a week after the last episode.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a cast on and his arm is fine.
Yes. Also, I'm pretty sure the one of the guys who was like the bad guy also got pretty injured.
I don't think he showed up. I think it was a different guy in this episode.
It was a different. I'm pretty sure the guy was there. He wasn't like the main one, but at the end, he like that's where the main character had like his fist beside his face. No, that was the blonde dude. Yeah. I feel like the guy was there. He just didn't do anything this time.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because the art style felt a little different on him, so I wasn't sure if it was a different guy or they just didn't care to animate him as well.
Yeah, I don't know. It was it was fine, but once again, most of the episode, even though they're giving me information, I still felt lost because so much of the episode was tied to whatever happened that we didn't see and whatever like when they're talking about like the police are blaming this on a crazy person, like what a shitty like cover up kind of thing. I'm like, but we don't know any of this. Like this is just confusing to us.
They show stuff like an elevator that's been ripped open and body parts everywhere.
Yeah, that would be interesting if we had seen that before. We're like, oh, I remember where that place is.
It's gonna be in that OVA probably.
But it seems like a very weird wave. It's like Star Wars, like
Yeah.
give us episode 4, 5, and 6, and then later come back to 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I mean that was like the whole like we don't have the technology to make episodes 1, 2, and 3. It's like don't make the movie then.
Yeah,
I mean, it worked
they have
out.
the technology to show us this OVA for Noblesse, but
And they just didn't have the ability to put it under the same title.
yeah, I don't know. It's weird. We're still gonna watch it though. I wasn't like completely thrown off. I thought I was really gonna hate this episode. I don't know why. I think I just heard some negative things about Noblesse. Like I just don't think people are as impressed as many of the other Crunchyroll originals that have come out.
I mean, the big thing is it isn't up to the same snuff as God of High School or Tower of God, and they didn't improve on what was in the episode before. That's the biggest problem, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The problems people had haven't been addressed.
Yeah, like it should be escalating a little bit every single episode, getting a little bit better. Especially if we are thinking that this is going to be like a 13 episode, which it probably will be, just based off what we know about the other series and stuff like that. Having so many episodes that like aren't good or are slow and like that short of an anime, it's not a good thing. Like think about God of High School. By like the first episode, they're like chasing down the motorcycle guy and like kicking him off his bike, and like a lot of shit's happening. And then even as you get into the second episode, they're already started the tournament. You get a tournament arc that fast.
Yeah. I mean, it could be you could chalk it up to a difference in genre.
Yeah. But like I'm a little confused at what the genre is. That's what.
Yeah.
I once again, it feels like a very mix between something that's supposed to be like a Vampire Knight mixed with like a little bit of a shonen maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're shooting for.
Yeah, so we're gonna keep watching. Hopefully it picks up a little bit. Hopefully we get some big plot, whatever this OVA, maybe they'll put it in. Like that's kind of the goal. If you're a fan of Noblesse, let us know. If you're not a fan of Noblesse, let us know. Why not? I feel like we'll get more people in the ladder. But yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes still. As I said, it's not a huge commitment, taking 20 minutes out of each week just to watch it to see where it goes. Yeah,
my biggest thing is just sitting down to watch it. I always had so many choices.
Yeah, it was like Noblesse is the last anime I watched this week. Like I watched it today, and it was the first to come out of all these episodes. So that's never a good sign. That's I have to watch this before we talk about it, not I want to watch about this so much.
There's definitely a bunch of other shows that are on my docket before.
Because I'm assuming you could guess what my first episode I watched was this week.
I'm pretty sure.
Actually, you wouldn't be able to guess what the first episode I watched this week. You could guess on like a Friday, for instance, what the first episode I'm going to on a Friday is. Yeah. Which is obviously a Haikyuu. Just a fact.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, that's it for Noblesse. We'll be talking about episode 3 next week. So this is the only episode, at least on our list, that's still in episode 2. Because it came a week late. So next week we'll be going to 3. Well, everything else will be going on to 4.
Yeah, which next week we might have the OVA to talk about as well.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll get around to it.
Yeah. Okay. So next up on the list is The Wandering Witch, and this is episode 3, and the episode name title is.
Let me double check that.
I could guess something with flowers.
Yeah, girl is pretty as a flower and bottle of happiness. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that part. Yeah, the reason I did not write that down is because it was too long.
Yeah.
So we briefly touched on Wandering Witch, and I think it might have been the previous episode when we talked about things we're not talking about but watching.
Yeah, it was definitely in the end discussion.
So there are multiple reasons why we're talking about this now. One is that a lot of people have given feedback that they like Wandering Witch. Yep. Like even some comments are like, I'm not watching a lot of anime in the fall season because there's just too many, but I'm watching Wandering Witch and this other thing.
Yeah, which it is definitely a unique show. It had that going for it.
Yeah, and it was one of the shows I was hyped for when I heard about the anime, because I was like, this sounds like a nice relaxing, like something like a Sleepy Princess, turn your mind off and have a nice little relaxing time.
Yeah, how's it feel to be that wrong?
Well, it's funny though, because we wouldn't have talked about it if it was that, but we're talking about it now because it seems like it might not be that.
Yeah, this episode definitely got a lot darker than what we were expecting initially.
So one thing about this episode that I was expecting, which I thought was going to be what the whole show was about, but that didn't, was like almost like a 2-part episode where they have multiple stories in like one episode. I always thought that was going to be like what it was, and then this was the first one to really do it. Yeah. But yeah, so it starts off and she's just flying over a flower field when like a girl stops her and it's like, hey, can you like take these flowers to the town?
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, yeah, I mean, I guess I can take the flower to town. She's like, who do you want me to give them to? She's like, good, just give them to anyone. She's like, it's just a happiness to give no flowers.
Which would be the moment that happened. I was thinking like, there's something sketchy.
Yeah, but
about
I'm still confused. I'll describe the rest of the scene and then I'll describe why I'm confused. So she goes to the nearest town. This town looks a lot less friendly than the towns we've seen. Yeah. With guards at the entranceway, really stopping people from coming in. As Elaina tries to walk in, this younger guard who seems a little frazzled stops her and is like, hey, like, starts questioning her a lot, saying you can't come in, tries to take her flowers from her. And then an older guard comes over, is like, oh, you need to calm down, like step aside. Yeah. Apologizes because apparently his sister went missing and he's a little frazzled. And then explains that like those flowers are actually poisonous.
Yeah, which I mean, it wasn't it wasn't truly poisonous. It's they brainwash you.
Yeah, basically they brainwash you. So then what he does is he like burns them, and then even when he's burning them, it then zooms into like the smoke that's rising from there, which made me have questions about whether or not that is actually doing anything, or if he's just making a gas version.
I mean, I feel like it is changing the nature. That might be drawn because towards the end of that particular story, they do show people who have been taken over by them walking towards the city.
Yeah, but how would all those people have gotten to the flower field first? I doubt all those people chose to go to the flower field unless they were poisoned via the gas in the city to make them walk out, go get, and then go back to the city to infect more people.
I mean, that is possible, but I feel like I guess they could have figured that
But
out.
it escalates really quickly. So the main character, Elaina, she's like, okay, she's like, that's weird. She's like, I'm gonna go back to the flower field. So she goes back to the flower field and she finds the young guard, and he's obviously messed up. He's got like vines attached to him and shit. And he's like, oh, like I found my sister. I'm so happy. And he's like hugging this like plant that was probably once his sister. We assume
it has the hair of the girl who gave her the flowers, which that was definitely a quick transformation.
Yeah. So and then he just kind of like leans into her and just like dies or something, or close to.
Pretty much, yeah. He's gone. He's now a plant person.
She doesn't stop or help or anything like that. She's like, okay, and then she just like flies away. And then the next scene is literally just a bunch of townspeople who are all have like this, plant mind control zombies on them, like walking back to town. And that's like the end of that
all
part.
All them carrying bundles of flowers.
Yeah, I'm like, and that's the end of that part. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, and like I was expecting her to like burn the field or come up with a solution or something, and then
nope,
just flies away.
Resolution normally happens, but she's just like, no, my job's to observe. It's not to do anything.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, maybe they're saving that to. I feel like it's possible that a lot of these things she encounters, it's like the first time around she's going to encounter them, and then maybe later she's going to deal with some of the effects of them. Because a lot of the stories that we've seen so far have been like unfinished in a sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in the episode previous, we saw the apprentice witch who stole her badge to try and learn something just because she wanted to be with someone.
Yeah, which, I mean, that episode was like sad, like it had heart and that kind of stuff, but like it ended happily,
Yeah.
She passed. She's like, oh, I like look up to this person one day, I'm going to meet her again. And I'm like, oh, that's a happy episode.
Yeah, not this one.
Yeah, so even in the first part of that alone, the multiple questions to me is, one, I always look at, especially in something like animation and like stuff like that, if they're showing a particular shot, it's definitely because they're choosing to. It means they had to specifically draw or animate that shot. So when I see them like, pant up to like the gas coming out of the fire, my thought is, okay, like we don't know how this poison works. Very easily it could be burned, becomes some sort of gas, infects people. And that's why my thought was it infect people in the town. Those people nearby walked out to the flower field, controlled to bring more flowers back to the city to completely take it over by whatever the hell this magical plant is. Yeah,
which means Elaina kind of screwed a lot of people over.
Yeah. That would be, well, I mean, to be fair, she was easily tricked by. So the assumption then is this sister wandered off.
Yeah.
Got mind controlled by the flowers, but unlike the brother, she didn't have any visible vines or anything on her.
I mean, for all we know, she literally just got there.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, she takes off her shawl, she uses it to wrap the bouquet and says, hey, bring this to town. And then the brother then recognizes the shawl, goes out to the flower field, realizing his sister must be there. So no resolution at all for this. Maybe they'll save that for later. Yeah. Maybe she'll come back through like later on another trip, and this whole city will just be destroyed, and she'll be like, "Oh,
whoops,
whoopsie."
But the thing is, I don't know if we're ever going to revisit locations because of the second story we saw.
Yeah. The second story also wasn't happy.
Oh, it was far from happy.
So she runs into a nice young character with a beautiful bowl cut.
Yeah, not far from the flower field as well.
Yeah, not that far from the flower field. Probably the next town over. And he's bottling up happiness. That's the title of the episode.
Which they do establish he's leaving the flower field.
Do they?
Yeah, he said he was trying to collect happiness from the flowers.
Oh.
But apparently, if you have magic, you're immune to them.
Oh, right, yeah, because they said witches are immune, so then the assumption would either be magic people or unless there's something very specific about their brooch or something. But yeah, I don't. It wouldn't have been far, but like it's not, his story doesn't directly affect any of the flower stuff or vice versa.
At least as far as we know.
He's going around collecting happiness, so it's not like he's not like stealing people's happiness. He's literally just basically capturing like the happy moments of people's lives. It would be the same as if I walked around with like a video camera and was videotaping all people's happy moments.
Oh, they look happy. Oh, they look happy.
Yeah, and his goal is he's going to give it to this girl he likes who is like a maid at his house. Yeah. No big deal. That's cute,
Yeah, which this episode really does teach you context is key.
Yeah, so then he's like, hey, Elaina, come back, have some lunch. She'll make you some food. Not a lot of it, no mushrooms. So Elena's like, okay, yeah, like I'll come. Not a lot of food though. And then when we get back to the house, there's a couple key information that we learn, such as, the maid wasn't just like found in the East. She was bought as like a slave for the father.
Yeah, because they open up with found, and that leaves it ambiguous as like, was she purchased or was she like an orphan he brought home?
Yeah, she was for sure purchased. And then when the father first comes in, because the father first walks down, you're immediately given bad vibes. We've all seen anime before. We know what bad fellas look like with their facial expressions.
Yeah, he's got that vibe. He's got that build.
He meets Elaina, and then he like literally just starts, his eyes go down, and it's just him slowly looking up her body, and then stops at her brooch. That's the area he stopped in, and then she looked immediately uncomfortable. And then he explains how he bought Nina, was her name. About how he purchased her because his wife had passed away and then needed help with the housework, and that she would grow up to be a beauty, so that's like a bonus score. And I'm like, I don't like where that sentence is going.
This brings up a couple key questions about this world for me. A, is slavery normal?
Well, you think Elaina would have stopped something if it wasn't.
I mean, would she?
I mean, maybe based off what we saw in the flower part, maybe not.
Yeah.
But I would assume yes. I'm assuming slavery is probably allowed.
I mean,
I would hope I wouldn't hope slavery is allowed, but I would hope that Elaina. I don't know exactly what witches' responsibilities are. It doesn't seem like they're not like.
I don't think they have responsibilities. I think they just get to do whatever they want.
Yeah, but I've mentioned this before about how this, and like this is even more true now. But in the last episode, for instance, it kind of reminded me of the filler early episodes of Fullmetal Alchemist.
Yeah,
where the two brothers are just traveling and they meet all these different stories, and each story is like one episode. This one reminds even more about that because they also never end happily. But but in Fullmetal Alchemist, they actively stop every single time. They like fix the issue, even if it has a negative outcome. They still fix something.
Yeah, she's
just an observer.
Yeah, she's just like, I'm just gonna write some stories. I'm not gonna fix your problems. I'm not gonna interfere.
Yeah, and for a second, what happens is it escalates quickly because the maid drops the vase. The dad shows his colors pretty fast. He's quite the douche.
I mean, he never hit them. That's no,
he just yells at her loud, kind of grabs her. He has her in like a chokehold.
Yeah.
And then Elena's like, let's all calm down. Like, I can fix this. Pulls out her wand, and like points at the dude for quite a minute, and he's like, oh. And then she's like, and she lowers it down, fixes the vase.
Which I mean, that would have fixed something as well if she'd just blown him up. But...
Yeah, that would have fixed something. And then after that scene, the dad leaves. We don't see him again. There's no like big punishment for him. Whatever, And then the guy gives his gift to Nina, which is the bottle of happiness, to show her all the happy stuff.
Which I was really hoping at some point Elaina was going to point out. It's like, you're being a dick, right?
Well, and the thing is, and like it's like the perspective thing, because in his mind he's not, right?
Yeah.
He just doesn't get it. Like even though it is discovered that he knows that she was purchased. He knows she's a slave.
Yeah, he just doesn't pay attention to it.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter to him, right? That's not something he would really think about. It's not something he would care about.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gives Nina the happiness. And then earlier on in this part of the episode, Nina mentions that like, his wanting to, find her all this happiness reminds her of like an old book she read where a husband travels around for a sick wife collecting all these like images of pretty landscapes and stuff like that to make her happy when he returns. And then the guy's like, "Oh, how does the story end?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't remember how the story ends."
Yeah, but she shows a hell of a time to remember.
Yeah, so then the guy shows Nina all the happy images. She cries a little bit, stuff like that. And then it's just like Elaina flying away, and she's like, "Oh, I remember the end of that story." She's like, the husband returned, showed her all the images, and then that just reminded her about how like she could never see those things, and then she killed herself, very strongly implying that Nina's gonna do the same. Yeah, and then it also the very last shot was also like a shooting star. And there's a lot of like I wouldn't call them like mythologies and stuff like that, but there's a lot of stuff with like people dying and shooting stars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, dark ending. Just showing it was basically Nina knows that her entire life will always be as a slave and she'll never get to feel the happiness that he then showed her. So you know.
I mean, even the line he said when he was showing her, it's like the outside world is full of happiness, so don't be sad.
Yeah, I mean like if he wasn't a bad like the guy in the episode wasn't a bad guy. He was just like young, kind of stupid, didn't understand the world, and obviously he lived a very privileged life in comparison, so he doesn't comprehend her situation. But it's not like he's not like hey, let's run away from here and like you won't be a slave anymore and I'll take care of you. He's just like, hey, look at all these happy thoughts. You could be that way, but she can't in her current situation.
Yeah, because it's like she's a slave. She's never going to actually get to experience any of this.
And even if like you would look at be like, oh, like one day she could, find out like one day that he'll pass away and maybe like if this guy likes her, they can escape or something like that. She's also a child. She's young. She doesn't have the insight to necessarily look that many years ahead. She's looking at her current situation and thinking it'll last forever.
I mean, even then, if she did have that ability, in the future she would be looking back. It's like she never really had a choice.
Yeah, it wasn't her choice of person that she would be with. It was just
Yeah.
the one that she kind of had to. But yeah, not a very positive episode overall.
Yeah.
But that was one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it though, because it was interesting. It was a little darker. It led a couple questions about the lore of the world, such as is slavery allowed and what the hell are witches doing? Because she's just kind of walking through places, and her attitude and the flower part I just didn't comprehend at all. I'm like, okay, like when she walks up and sees the guard guy just like going to die or something, I was like, okay, she'll at least save him. But then she didn't. I was like, what
could she save him?
I don't know. We don't know
Is there
how
an
magic works.
anti-plantify spell or
Maybe. It looks like she has a spell for everything else.
like I was honestly just expecting her to burn the field.
That would have made sense too.
But nope, just walks away and leaves it, I guess.
Yeah, she acknowledges in that part that there's like this old story about this like magic, basically flower thing, and that like, you know, controlled people. Kind of like implying that that's what this situation is.
Yeah.
But she doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So maybe in the future episodes we'll get information about what exactly the witches' jobs are, or if they have any responsibilities, or if their job is literally just to travel and write in a book.
Well, I mean, I think that's something specific to her because we've seen other witches run shops or have an actual business. Because that's
yeah,
where
she just wants to see the world.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to emulate this witch from a book and go around and write a story.
But I feel like one of her things is that she wants to help people. That was not helping people.
I mean, she's also like, how old is she? Like 14?
15?
Yeah.
I think she was 14 when it like started.
Yeah, so she doesn't really know how to help people, I think.
Yeah. She's a funny character though. I mean, the intros, every single intro over like this episode, she's like flying off the field. She's like, "Wait, who's that beauty more beautiful than the flowers?" Is that
Yeah.
Each episode we're going to get one of those right at the beginning. You getting you nice
gonna
and positive before every single episode is going to somehow turn negative.
Yeah, she's definitely got that vibe to her. I'm not sure if it's going to work though.
The thing is though, I'm excited to see all the future episodes because I want to know, is it just going to keep getting darker and darker, or are they going to kind of trick you sometimes with some light episodes, or like it's just like now I'm kind of excited because there's so much you can. When an anime gets dark, you then get this like this feeling every single episode that something's going wrong. Anytime there's a nice character, you're like, oh, are they nice? Like I don't buy this anymore.
I mean, even if they are nice, are they just going to get guffed to make the story progress?
Yeah, so you like it leads when you're watching this. You're not just like sitting there watching it. You're like thinking. You're like, oh god damn. You're like this nice character. Like he's either gonna be nice, he's gonna be evil, he's gonna be nice but get killed by someone who's evil. It's like there's all these options, and you're just waiting every single character. You're on like the edge of your seat. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to talk about it. And then the other one was because people are watching it, and if people are watching it, then we're talking about it. As simple as that. I think at next week's episode 4, and this is the very start of our entire list of coming out on Friday. So it's a Friday anime. It's the first one that comes out Friday morning. And then we're just going to, you good? Talk about the next episode?
Yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say.
It's everything we had to talk about for now. You have any comments on that episode? Let us know down in the comments below. Next one up is I'm Standing on a Million Lives, episode 3, title Help Me. My favorite title because it's short.
You're a very simple man.
Yeah, I was a little confused at where this episode started because it started with a flashback, I think.
It did, yes. And something I've noticed about this episode, he seems to flip between the chef and the villager and the farmer outfit a lot.
Yeah, is that an option?
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so the episode starts with him like hitting there inside like the game world, and he like sees one of those what are they called, logs? I think.
Yes, log points.
Yeah, to go view. But as of the last episode, we were at the point where they were leaving, like they were out of the game. So I was like, when does this take place? Because like it pretty much went as soon as he landed. Almost, the one girl was like eaten. So
I mean, there was a little bit of travel time in there. So
yeah, I suppose. It just, to me, when I was watching, I was like, I'm confused of when this time is. But I guess that's the beauty, is that they don't really have to tell us. You know, it's not integral to the story.
Yeah,
but it's
by the way,
those,
there was an hour here we didn't tell you about. This happened.
It's one of those things that I always question immediately once I see it, even if it's not integral to the story. But yeah, I'd say what, like half of it, if not a little bit more, takes place inside the real world.
Yeah, a fair amount actually.
And I'm still mad. Okay, I understand the main character is like, I don't know if he's supposed to be liked. Like they really keep bouncing back and forward between whether or not he's supposed to be liked by his like fellow people or if he's supposed to be disliked.
Yeah, they can't really decide on a tone there, can they?
So obviously, what we know from the episode or from like the show in general now is that, you know, there's going to be a fourth person introduced. normally there's some sort of interaction in the real world before. That's like what we've been hinted at anyways.
Yeah, there was one brief interaction with the character in a previous episode where he bumped into her table while she was streaming.
Yeah, but like specifically though, we know that for instance the other two girls, they got like a message saying, you know, make sure you're alone with him in a classroom.
Yeah.
From like the game master. So then when the main character gets a message being like, hey, go to this place and like hit on this girl, and he gets the phone call from the game master, which I'm sure is a little weird. So that obviously implies that like, okay, this is going to be like the character, this is going to be important. So even he knows that. He's like, okay, he's like, I guess I'll go to this place and hit on this girl.
Right.
And then the place, is it their school or is it a different school?
I believe it's a different school because
Okay.
he openly says, I do not know what's going on here.
Yeah, because I was like, no, like people would know who he is. Like he would get in trouble. Like they said they're going to call the cops and stuff. I was like, they would.
I mean, the thing is, could they call the cops?
Yeah, I mean,
Because I guess we should get into the actual context of what's going on.
Yeah, because basically he's just told to go to this place and hit on a girl, and then he gets to the school at night. He's like, okay, why? How am I hitting on a girl in school at night?
Yeah.
And then he gets to the ladies' bathroom in school at night. He's like, how am I hitting on a girl in the ladies' bathroom at school at night? And then he walks into the room, and it's basically three. Was there four? It might have been four.
I think there's 4 girls in the room,
Yeah.
one of which is being quote unquote bullied.
Yeah, so she's being bullied. Some of the women are literally holding her down while one has like a phone out to videotape, like pulling up her shirt. Obviously, you know, bullying in anime is always extreme as shit. Not saying that bullying in real life isn't also crazy, but I feel like a lot of times in anime, it's obviously heightened to get some.
They have to get that major reaction out of you. So
Yeah, so the thing is, the main character here is not like I need to help this girl. He's like this will help me hit on this girl if I save her from the situation.
Which, first of all, can we talk about how freaking jacked he must be? Because he just snapped a cell phone in half.
Yeah, he's strong as shit. Like, listen, I've broken a lot of phones, not like on purpose. Literally, like I've had like recycled or garbage phones or something like that, or like demo phones or dummies just for fun. And like it's not so easy to break.
Yeah,
especially not without damaging your hands.
Yeah, and he's just like.
Yeah, so he in his mind he's like, oh, this is the perfect opportunity. It must be that girl that I have to hit on. He's like, and if I save her right now from the situation, that's easy peasy lemon squeezy. He's like, I'm finally gonna get a girlfriend. He's like, this is gonna be cool.
Which I mean, I think we have to talk about the actual context here because these girls are attacking a girl, stripping her while filming it.
Yep,
and then they're surprised when he breaks their phones and they're acting like they're not in the wrong.
Yeah, so tell me when you were watching this, you weren't expecting a twist. Like the entire time I was watching, I was expecting like no, they're doing this like on purpose, and then he's gonna be the bad guy because like he didn't know the situation, like you know, it's some sort of like a big prank on someone else. Like I thought it was gonna be something like that.
I thought because they established that she was a streamer, I thought like, oh, is this like some sort of screwed up photo shoot or something?
Some major clickbait. They're getting a big clickbait thumbnail.
I mean, not even that. I was thinking like, is this for this bitch's OnlyFans page or something? Like
maybe. Yeah, I thought there was no way because all their reactions. So then the main character's like, oh, I'll save them. So he goes and he grabs the lady's phone and he breaks her phone, right? Being like, hey, I'm stopping her from videotaping.
And he does this 3 times as well.
But even the very first time, the girl who's filming's reaction, all the girls' reactions are like, they're not like oh, you bitch. They're like shocked. They're like, huh? Yeah. And I was like, okay, like this seems wrong. Like there's something like he is misunderstanding the situation. Obviously, you would very easily in that situation.
I mean, yeah, I feel like he would still be justified.
But yeah, he is understanding the situation there, and he's like the bad guy in the situation. He's not like he's just jumping to conclusions, and then he breaks all the rest of their phones and they run away, and then he talks to the girl finally, and he's like, oh, were you being bullied? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, this was not a misunderstanding. These girls just react they're very offended that this guy came in and broke their cell phones while they're bullying a chick.
How privileged are you?
Yeah, very privileged. I'm assuming it's like an all-girl school.
I mean,
because if there's anywhere I'd assume that kind of shit would happen, it'd probably be bullying in an all-girl school because that sounds miserable.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, even the girl herself, she's like, oh, yeah, well, I was doing a stream and I mentioned someone was kind of a bitch and they assumed it was her and they were right.
Yeah, like it was her.
But I deserved it. It's like, no, what?
Yeah,
no.
so she says that she basically deserved to be bullied because she kind of like made fun of one of her friends on a stream. That's just them getting back at her. So she like was barely even fighting it. She like didn't care that much. And
I mean, my big question is like, that's what you accept for bullying? Like, what?
I mean, even like later in the episode, there's also more reasons to be like, oh, this chick's kind of an idiot. Obviously, you know, they start off bad so they can grow. We can only assume.
True.
But yeah, he kind of rescues her. He like walks home with her. She's like uncomfortable the whole time. He's like kind of uncomfortable because I feel like he's not really getting it. You know, he just like helped this girl, saved her life, stopped bullying, all that kind of stuff, and she like doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. I don't know what's wrong with her, even though there is a lot wrong with him as well.
Yeah, the stuff that's wrong with him but like the stuff that's wrong with him, we get because we see inside of his head.
Yeah.
Because the perspective we're seeing him it's not that he wanted to jump in and save her for being a good guy. He did it because
he had to.
He was half told to, and B, because he's like, oh, this will help with hitting on her. Like,
yeah, and his attitude was like, if I don't help her, that makes the next mission we're going to be sent on that much harder.
Yeah, so we see inside his mind, we're like, okay, you're still helping, but like you're not doing it for the right reasons. But she doesn't see that. As far as she knows at this point, he was just happened to be there. The question is, why did he happen to be there?
Why were you in an all-girls school in the middle of the night in the girls' washroom?
But yeah, he happened to be there, and then he saved her. But like, she doesn't really care. They're both uncomfortable on the walk home, and then they go their own separate ways.
I mean, they do establish something with her just before they separate, and that's that she is a huge fujoshi or female otaku.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it was just like, well, if you did more like this one dating sim I play, you'd probably have better luck with girls, and then just runs away.
Yeah, implying that he's not very good with girls.
I mean, she's not wrong.
Yeah, and then so then the next scene is basically they go into like the game world finally, and she's there, and she's like confused, obviously,
justifiably, yeah.
Yeah, there's only so many times they kind of have to skip through that pretty fast because if this is gonna happen like 10 times, there's only so many times we want to see a character be confused at where they are. Like in an isekai, you get that like one time, and that's like enough. And you've seen it at the beginning of every single isekai.
Yeah, next character they're just gonna slap in the face is like, get over it. We're going to do a quest.
Yeah, so she gets there, and then she kind of like describes the situation to like the women, and they all then think he's a pervert and weird. I'm like, what? Why is he a pervert and weird for the situation?
You knew the context.
Yeah, like you'd think they knew like that he probably would have been told to do this. That's why she's there, because they've had like the same kind of situation. Not to mention, even with the context of him having to do it, he still stopped her from being bullied in a really bad way. And they're all like pervert, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with all you characters?
I don't know if she told him that though.
I mean, then he should have very quickly.
Yeah, just like, hey, I walked into a room. Someone was filming basically revenge porn, and I stopped it.
And yeah, but
it's not that hard to say.
The slightly more interesting part is that then they kind of go their own separate ways to fill out the map because they have a few objectives this time. Mm-hmm. I think, how long did they have? It was like 40 days. I think it was 40 days.
It was a fairly significant amount of time.
So like one of the requirements though was like fill out like 5% of the map or something like that.
Yeah, the main objective was what? Deliver the goods?
Yeah, something like that. So they were getting the map thing done pretty fast, and the main character goes his way. The lady knight goes the one way, and then the blonde wizard lady and her team up to go together.
Right.
And then this is like, they have good conversations. She really looks up to like her strength, that kind of stuff. And then after that, it just kind of skips to them sleeping, I suppose. Because then it shows we're getting a little bit of backstory about what's her name. It's like Lou or you or
it's you. It's
Shindo. It might be the last name, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's spelled like IU or something.
Okay, yeah. So then we get like a dream series, so where we're getting flashback information.
Yeah.
She was a little bit of a tomboy, a little bit of a brawler when she was a kid because her dad is like, a douche.
I mean, he's a scumbag.
Yeah, a scumbag. But then it also shows basically where it's like she had, she made like a friend. It was someone I'm assuming who was like
I think it was her older sister.
I don't think it was actually related though. Because it was like she was walking by and this person was basically just like moving in.
Maybe, yeah. Because I know the dad was talking about her at the end, so he knew her at the very least.
Yeah, I think the whole the implication was that this lady moved in from Tokyo, and then like basically everybody in the small town that she moved to thought she was like garbage because they thought, oh, city folk thinks they're better.
Wrong show.
Is that?
Yeah, you're thinking of Jujutsu.
Okay, so but this is very similar.
They don't actually explain anything about her.
Do they not?
You just see her, you know that she was friends with her, and then she died.
But then, because the dad's like, oh, yeah, she died because she's ugly or something.
Yeah, I guess that's what happens when you have a butterface, I think is the term they use.
What? But like, why though?
I think she got hit by a car. She died, I know that much. And I know the dad's an asshole. And then it just ends with
we know that even when they first show her as like a kid brawling, people are like, oh, what do you expect? Like, look at her father. So we're like, oh, like she must have like a But a lot of times in anime, when there's like the bad father that all the parents talk about, they're not actually bad. They're just like misunderstood or something like that.
Yeah, not in this case.
Yeah, this one seemed like he might actually be bad.
Yeah, unless the daughter has some major context issues, or like I'm using that word way too much. If she doesn't understand what he's saying, or she like just filled in the blanks herself, maybe. But I don't think that's what they're going for here.
Yeah, so it's like her sleeping while crying because this, whoever this friend is or girl is, she's gone now.
Yeah.
And then she wakes up And then she has a little talk with the main character, him just being like, "Hey, you were crying when this happened." She's like, "Oh, you're very perceptive, or more perceptive than I thought."
Yeah, and then it actually ends with her saying, "Help me."
Yeah, yeah. Which is the name of the title.
Yeah, so a little bit of a name drop there.
Yeah, so we don't understand yet, in which way, she would like him to help her.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's really the type who can help you in the real world.
I mean, one of the things that's happening is that I don't remember his name. It starts with a T, I'm pretty sure. Tsukasa? I don't know.
Yeah.
Something along that line. And then he sees the log point where she mentions that she likes or she's like interested in this boy with the same name. And he's like, "Oh, it's me." He's like, "Oh, wait a minute. There's this other guy in the class who also has the name."
And he's like actually really popular.
For sure, a future guy coming into the game, right? But that's it's like the element that he doesn't know. He's like, "But it could be me." He's like, "The chances are low." He's like, "But the chances are there. It still could be."
Because the other
me.
one's like a fucking soccer star, and
yeah, he's the class cool dude, obviously.
yeah, he's the one all the girls want. It's like, okay, you're really like selling that this guy.
But
sucks.
it's not a 0% chance it's him. So that's what he keeps holding on to. But yeah, we don't know. Next episode, we'll probably find out either what she wants help with, if it's something real world, something game world. It could be another like a misdirect. She could be like, "Help me with these knots that I have in my thing," like.
I mean, if they actually do that, I'm gonna genuinely.
That'd be like Uzaki-chan level of bait.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they've already established that the fourth character is going to be female, or the next character is going to be female as well.
They're all going to be female.
I mean, you were just talking about how.
I know I still think that they will have to do that because it'll be once he gets to the point where he's like, "I'm the only male. I have all the females to pick from," and then like one male that's cooler than him will come on. It always happens in like deserted island things.
Yeah. I think they did something similar. Was it Love Hina where they introduced Kentaro?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
Yeah. The good part to me of like the episode, I liked like the little bit of backstory. There wasn't too much, but they're trying to at least give depth. And I liked when they mentioned again when the main character deliberately said like, he thinks back to like the flashbacks of what he saw at the end of the last one about the city, and he's like, "I hate this city though."
Yeah. Which I mean, I feel like we're gonna get the context on.
Because right now we don't know the context of
why am I doing that?
Of why he hates the city so much. Like it's one thing he obviously really liked the small town he's from. He was like cool there in a sense. It looked like he had a lot of friends, and then he was forced to move, which most kids can relate to.
Yeah.
On some level, obviously a lot of kids have had to move.
Yeah. Even if you didn't have to move far, you still had to change in your demographic and your
friend depending on like how old you are too. Sometimes it's hard to make like new friends depending on if you're past like a certain age where all the groups are like pre-established. But even then, I don't think that alone is enough to make him hate the city so much.
Yeah, I think something very specific happened that caused him to develop this hatred and this dislike of people. But
yeah, which we're going to get to, I assume, at some point, because I feel like all these main characters have something, wrong with them. They're all going to have, obviously, some sort of psychological issue. Seems to be kind of like the direction they're leading.
Yeah, so if this turns out to be some sort of like rehabilitation from the future...
I mean, that would kind of make sense, because the whole thing, and this is like the theory, or a theory, is that someone, it's like, how did this start kind of thing, and it's like someone got them. So do you think that's going to be like the main character in the future?
I mean, that's definitely possible. I mean, it's hard to say because the way the Game Master is designed, I can't imagine anyone actively choosing that.
Yeah, that'd be a lot to do. But I mean, it could be like the Game Master and all this kind of stuff still planned, but they like ask who should do this, and then it's like in the future he's like, "Oh, how about like young me?" I don't know. Like
it's like, hey, this guy's pretty screwed up. Can we like try and fix him in the past, please?
Yeah. So once again, it's always hard to say whether or not we're ever going to get to learn any of these answers, because this doesn't seem like a season 1 kind of answer that'd be revealed, unless it somehow does turn out to be like a 1-season show, which I'd be okay with.
This could be a situation where they want to do multiple seasons, but we're only going to get the one.
Yeah, which then we're stuck with an ending that we'll never know.
Yeah, like this very much reeks of being a light novel adaptation, which means we have absolutely no idea if it's going to keep going or if we're going to have to wait for some book that's probably never going to get translated.
Yeah, not a bad episode. I would say that it's slowly progressed for me. Like I think that each episode I liked a little bit more than the last one, but not like shocking amounts yet. Not like a big pop off episode.
As you see more of the characters and as you see a little bit more of the world, it is nice. It is giving you a little bit more to grasp onto. It's just I don't know if any of the characters are actually likable.
Yeah, not a lot of likable characters, and still not enough information about like how the game works.
Yeah, my big question is still like, why are mages absolutely worthless?
I feel like a lot of it they don't tell you so that they don't have to have like plot holes and inconsistencies later, right? Like that's the simple thing to do. If they don't explain how their magic system works or anything like that, or how the game works, then they don't have to worry about later doing something that isn't against it.
Yeah, I mean the big problem is like the new mage shows up and she's a heat mage.
Yeah, she can heat up like the area around her by like 1 degree or 10 degrees or
It was
something
like
like that.
it was like by up to like 20 degrees Celsius. It's like, oh, my staff is warm now, but that was all her MP gun. It's like, what use is this mage?
Yeah, well, the thing is, oh, well, she's only rank 1, right? I was like, but how the fuck do you rank up from that? Like, what do you do? How do you? Is she gonna
Yeah.
stab them with the end of the staff?
Like, do you get experience points for heating up water?
Because I'm pretty sure when they'd show like the party rank up when they kill like the bug, I'm pretty sure it was only the main character and then the night girl who ranked up from that.
Yeah, because he specifically held the sword for her.
Yeah,
did it
not to
for
mention
her.
he also like cut off all the legs and stuff like that. So it was like and she was the one who technically killed it.
Yeah.
But that means it looked like they didn't do anything, like they didn't get anything from it. So it doesn't seem like there's a very good party EXP system.
I mean, I guess they could just like smack her with her stick
I guess.
if that grants anything.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully one day they explain more about the world, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't. And then I'm just curious to see how far the season goes, like how much information they give us, how far into these quests do they take us before it ends.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get at least one more quest, I think, because they do show in the opening another character.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but yeah, that might be it, though. We might only get to that point, have to wait to possible future seasons to see if we get more than that.
But who knows? Maybe the show will take off and we're going to get a lot more of it.
Maybe it'll have that one big episode that brings everybody in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've seen anything from it so far that would indicate that, but
but only one way to find out, and that's by seeing it when it happens. Next upon the list is one of the bigger ones. It's Don Machi. So this is
Xenos and Outliers.
Yeah, season 3, episode 3 to be exact. So I liked this season so far. We've talked about this multiple times. It had like a good start.
Yeah, it's a lot more engaging than the Familia War arc or the Ishtar arc.
Yeah, because there's big implications.
Yeah.
So in this episode, obviously the last episode was where some of the townsfolk discovered, there's a monster living among them. They don't know all the context, if you will, about that it's a friendly monster who, they don't know that thing exists, right? So they just think
saw a monster.
They think maybe it was attacking a child. So it starts off with the episode with all these angry people going to the guild, being like, we're demanding answers,
Which, I mean,
all being Karens. Like, give us the answers now. Let me speak to your manager.
There have been monsters loose in the town before, and normally it's like a tamer guild or something like that. Just let them get loose.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I feel like they should probably be going after the tamer guilds as opposed to going screaming at the guild.
I guess like the guild would have the answers as to which let it loose and stuff like that. But yeah, it seemed like I guess we didn't get to see the guild previously, but in season 1, right, where there was like the Colosseum thing and like that bull thing got loose or whatever it was, or monkey.
Yeah, it was a white ape.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly what they called it.
Yeah, and then Belle had to kill it. Seemed like no one was that mad at that, which was actively destroying everything.
I'm sure people were.
This girl monster almost attacked a kid and maybe destroyed one cart, or like they would maybe blame some of the fallen crates on the monster.
I mean, the big difference is like a monkey smashed an alleyway versus a little girl got attacked.
She has no scars or marks. She's fine.
I mean, they don't know that.
Has to build character. But yeah, so it starts with that, and then we see, I'll never remember her name, but it's kind of like the guild worker that we know, friends with Belle kind of stuff.
I want to say Elaina or Elena or
possibly.
It starts with an E.
So she gets called up, and then she's basically given this special notice to bring to the Hestia family with like a special a quest, basically.
Yep, secrecy is key. You're not allowed to inquire further. Just take it to them.
Yeah, so she takes it over to Belle. Belle reads it and then kind of shows his family, and she's like, "Oh, let me help you." And he's just like, "Goodbye." He's like,
just no.
He's a big no. So the one thing about these quests that's implied is that you cannot say no. It is not optional quest.
Which this always makes me question like what the guild has in the city, because they couldn't do shit to the oh god, what's their name again?
Which one?
The one from the Familia War arc. Apollo?
Yeah, Apollo.
Yeah, they couldn't do anything to Apollo because it's like, oh, they'll just pay any fines we give them.
Yeah, but what if you gave him a quest to die?
Like, well, not even that. Just give them
a non-optional quest.
Give them a non-optional missive saying "Stop being a dick."
Yeah, I don't know exactly. Once again, Don Machi, another one where we get slow information about the world, but it's not like in episode 1 they don't just come out and tell us every single thing about how all of the Familia stuff works. We get a little bit of information as it comes out. Like we only found out you could like banish gods and stuff like that in like season 2. Just because it was relevant at the time.
I mean, they always did talk about how gods came down and they only got to live a limited life here, so I guess they could always just kill them if they didn't like them. But
yeah. So yeah, like the mission then he tells us Familia is basically like, hey, bring Weene down to the 20th floor with the entire family, basically.
Yeah.
So then they're like, okay, like can we even get to the 20th floor? And they're like, yeah, like we can get everyone to the 20th floor if we use like Haruhime's powers, level some people up, and we play smart and that kind of stuff. She's like, Lily brings along like 3 magic swords or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, which I mean, well, would have probably made those specifically for this
Yeah,
trip.
they sound like they're a pretty good resource. You don't want to use them necessarily, but like, shit happens and you have to.
Oh yeah.
So then you get 2 sides in the episode mainly. So you get them going down to the floor, and then you also get Hestia. Then there's a secret message on the message saying, meet me this place once your whole familia is gone. So you're getting 2 different perspectives of Belle and them traveling down. They're having a very hard time. They're getting attacked by tons of monsters, and all of the monsters are specifically targeting Weene.
Yeah, which is kind of curious because I mean, if Weene is a monster herself, you kind of have to question like, why would they go specifically after her?
I feel like it's a thing about like
Being
she's
intelligent?
she's like a separate race of monsters, like not even like their species, but like we know there's like a group of intelligent monsters versus a group of non-intelligent monsters.
Yes.
And they're specifically, they probably hate them for being smarter. It's probably one of those things.
I mean, yeah, or they're just instinctively driven. It's like, hey, you're not trying to kill adventurers. I got to kill you.
Yeah, so Hestia is sent and she meets the secret messenger, who the only thing I'm curious about is like it's implied that this isn't like a real person or
There's
something
something
along that
up
line.
there. She's either a monster or a puppet.
Yeah, but the weird thing is, and this is always the classic anime / any filmmaking shit, is that she says like, "Who are you?" The person takes off their hood, and we leave the scene. We don't get to see, and then this person brings Hestia over there.
But the big thing is when they show that shot, when she goes to bring down the hood, her hand looks like it's wood or bone or something like that.
Yeah, but then why would they not show the face? To me, that's the question you always have to ask, and shit like that is like, okay, yeah, if this is just a nameless puppet or something that we don't know or don't have to care about, in that scene they would have just showed their face.
Well, I mean, they have established that this world has prosthetics, so
yeah, it's just. I feel like
it could be a misleading point.
It could be, but typically if you're hiding someone's face, it's because then if they was shown, you would know who they are.
Yeah.
Thus, it's someone that maybe it's possible we know, or along those lines. Anyway, she's brought over to what the hell's his name? The
Oranos.
Yes, brought over to him, where he basically just explains. Which it is a nice touch because a lot of times in anime, it's like, yes, we could just assume that Hestia will learn this information from Belle and them later, but since we don't know when they're coming back. It's literally just what we're watching Belle and the whole familia learn is just what she's being told.
Yeah.
And it's not really like we don't need to see her we don't need to see it be told because we're being shown, but still knowing that she is being told, at least then we have the information that she knows the same stuff. Like it's kind of weird.
Yeah, and it also gives us an idea of what the guild's taking it, like how they're interacting with them.
Yeah. So basically when they get down to the 20th floor, Belle and the familia, they run into like a secret entranceway where they hear some song. They go through and they start getting attacked by monsters who are very powerful. They're like armored. They have weapons.
Glowing red eyes. Makoto couldn't detect them.
Yeah. So they start getting attacked, and they're right at the end of the straw. The big strong lizard man is just about to attack Weene, and then Belle uses his sick ass Argonaut shit.
Yeah.
And just clocks him right in the face. But then obviously the lizard man gets back up, and you're like, oh shit, like this is a real enemy. Like everything else we've seen, like Belle, Argonaut is just done.
Yeah, normally Argonaut is the end of the fight.
Thank God it wasn't though, because that would have been awkward. But
yeah, sorry I killed him.
Yeah, so the lizard folk gets back up and he's like, you got me good there, man. You're strong. And they're all like, eh? And then it basically revealed that all of these monsters, they are all intelligent. They are all like fully functioning, talking. They go to like shake Belle's hand. And it's along the lines of the one was a harpy from the last one.
Yep.
It's along the lines of they're like, hey, we had to test you. See your resolve because like you're with one of our like kindred, one of our like family kind of thing.
We wanted to see if you were going to abandon her or if you were going to actually try and protect her. Or get out
and
of
then
here with
since
her.
they went so hard to try and protect her, they're like, oh, you guys are like good people. They're like, we can trust you. So now they're all like, they all want to walk up and like shake Belle's hand, and he's kind of like when the lizard man first sticks his hand out, he's like looking back at everyone. They're like, don't do it, don't do it, man.
Which I mean, he did kind of have the whole thing with Weene where she sliced his arm open.
But the whole point is there. He looks back at his familia, and they're like, no, like don't do it. And then he looks at Weene, and like he's like, oh. At least in my mind internally, he's like, if I don't shake the hand, then like I'm showing that there's something like wrong with monsters. Weene's a monster, so he obviously like has to do it in his mind to show that like it's possible. So he shakes the hand, nothing goes wrong. He shakes all their hands, and they just kind of explain that this is like a secret like civilization, like a secret city where all these like intelligent monsters live in safety. Then it's just
which something I do have to ask because a lot of the monsters you see there are monsters you see on the higher floors. How did they manage to get down here if other monsters are attacking them? Is my big question.
It's possible that like maybe people like the really strong lizard man and the harpy, they rescue them.
They just guide them down and bring them.
Yeah, maybe these are questions. Obviously, at the end of the episode, Belle and them are still inside the city.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to learn a little bit more about this.
So. Yeah, so they'll probably take them through like the city. We'll learn more about them, that kind of stuff. But it's cool now that we're getting like these other characters that are monsters. But then even like the final reveal of the episode is when whatever the hell his name is, I forget it again. Oranos is telling Hestia like why he sent like this mission, this quest, and it's basically he's like, your family is like the family that can like combine our two worlds.
You're the best shot.
Which is what we were talking about last episode, but like, oh, if the whole season's plot is going to be them having to like change the world in the sense where now like there will be monsters and stuff like that. And that's like what he pretty much implies. He's like, your family is the best shot at us doing this, about like, you know, having these intelligent monsters. Because not like in some sense too, if you have all these now intelligent monsters and they're friendly, not only do you have a larger fighting force, you also have less monsters inside this place.
I mean, yeah, the big question is how many monsters have killed adventurers, and how that's also going to bring up the question is like, do you have to think before you kill a monster now?
Yeah, I feel like that would be the thing, unless all like the friendly monsters, you know, they migrated somewhere. They had a home that wasn't inside like the dungeon, I guess.
Yeah, but the thing is, we saw Weene just pop out of a wall at one point.
That's true. But even like, we don't know exactly. We still don't understand how they're being made. We don't know yet if it's still natural evolution or if something's like causing this specifically. It could be like experiments. It could be natural evolution. That's kind of the shit we'll probably learn within the next episode or maybe two.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's big implications for like the world, as we said last time. This is just a bigger hint to this episode that's where this whole season's going to. But yeah, like, you know, never know that if this was like by the end of this season, you know, if this was all like established now, it's like a friendly monster city. That's one more safe haven. Sure, it's only a few floors away from the other safe haven, but
I mean, there's a huge jump in difficulty from what we've seen. So
yeah, exactly. So that kind of thing could be nice. But yeah, it was a good episode. You know, I liked all the monster characters. It was kind of funny. There was like all these like little weird goblin things, and they're like, or there was like it was like the bunny thing, I think.
Yeah, there's a few. I think they call them lapins or lapins or something based on the French word for rabbit. So
yeah, but it was a good episode. I'm excited for the next week because I feel like that's where we're going to get a lot of these monster lore, like maybe how they're created, how they found the city, how they're saving like the other monsters, for instance, like you talked about. Maybe just a lot of exposition, a lot of questions.
Yeah.
You know, it might literally just continue from being like Bell and his party getting exposition from them, and then maybe Hestia will still be getting information from whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I think is that because partway through the episode they show I think it's the Nyx Familia.
The bad family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say keep an eye open for the Hestia Familia. So my big question is going to be, were they followed?
Yeah, there's going to be the plot where they're followed, and then their bad familia discovers this secret society of monsters and tries to capture them all, and then the Hestia family fights them, right?
I do want to note that I feel like I want to say Nyx. I think that's the family.
Yeah, but like Nix. And like, what was the god's name though? It was something bigger than that. It was a long name.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll learn it when he comes back in.
But I just wonder because they seem really bad at their jobs because they're supposed to be smuggling monsters, and every time we see them, they've killed monsters.
Yeah, you know, maybe they just keep getting confused. It's like when we play Monster Hunter sometimes.
Oh yeah,
and you do that one extra attack. You're like, no, I was supposed to capture you.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I'm excited for the next episode, though. As I said, I think the next one's going to be mainly exposition onto like the lore and stuff like that, and then probably after that, or at the end of this episode, is probably going to be something with the bad family discovering where the city is, and then we're going to have like a couple fighting episodes, because after a few episodes of exposition, you need some fights,
a little bit of action to break it up. So
yeah, I'm excited though. It was a good episode. I've liked the season a lot so far.
Yeah, Don Machi usually does a really good job, at least bringing me in.
Mm-hmm.
Even Sword Oratorio was decent enough, considering it was a spinoff. So
yeah, we haven't seen any of that family either, so we know they had to come in because they're pretty important.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do this without having the Loki Familia get involved somehow. So
yeah. Okay. Next up on the list then is King's Raid Episode 3. What the Predecessors Left Behind is the name.
Yeah, which is kind of on the nose for a title.
A very literal title as to what did his predecessor leave behind, which is the sword. I'm assuming that's kind of what it meant.
I'm assuming it's also Castle as well.
I guess he left him behind. So yeah, much like what was predicted in the last episode, this was mainly it was like 75% a past episode, like showing King Kyle and how Castle was, you know, somehow born, but you know, like 100 years ago or however it was.
Yep.
And then at the very end was kind of a prologue to what's going to happen, like how the rest of these episodes are going to go. What's the journey? Because for most anime, especially like these types, there needs to be a journey, there needs to be a goal. Yeah. To then watch them go on.
Which we don't know if they're actually going on a journey, if they're just going straight to where this sword's supposed to be.
Yeah. So the episode, it answered one of the questions I had from last week, which was like, hey, maybe the half elf he was shown with, or the dark elf he was shown with, is like the mom. That's not true.
No, apparently it was his older sister.
Yeah, his older half sister.
Which that begs a few other questions. Like, first of all, if she was older, why wouldn't she have inherited the crown?
Well, Jimmy.
It's high fantasy. We don't know.
Yeah, I know, but let's assume for two reasons, just based off other high fantasy we know about. One might be that she's a famale. That's an obvious answer.
yeah.
And then two might be because she's still a dark elf. And we know that they're friendly with dark elves, but we don't know if they're that friendly. If their trust in dark elves was broken so easily, like because we learned in this episode what breaks the trust, and it was not very big. I'll tell you that right now. But
I mean, like high heresy, basically. But yes.
Okay, yeah. So we get the flashback, and it shows King Kyle. It shows a little bit of his life. He's training as like a young prince. It basically goes through his story, how he falls in love with a woman, but then his father and the rest of the nobles don't let it happen. A standard rule. She's not, she's either not nobility or she's not enough nobility.
Did anyone actually stop him?
Yeah, well, he said that his father, and then all the nobles didn't let it happen because they wanted it to be a more better. So then he didn't see her for a while.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, so then right at the end of that, so like obviously maybe he would have put up more of a stink about that, except for then the demons attacked, and then there was like the whole thing.
Yeah,
so
priorities.
As the prince, he took like his army and he fought off demons like crazy. Like he was really good. He kept destroying them. And then his father passed away. He went back. He became the king, and he decided right there that he was going to like put a stop to this like once and for all. He was like, as your king, I'm going to protect you all and destroy the demons forever.
Correct. And then he led into him forming an alliance with the elves as well as the orcs, which we
never
actually saw.
Yeah, they're literally like, oh, he formed an alliance with the elves and the orc, and we see the elf lady, and they did not show the orc.
Never see
guy.
the leader of the orcs. I did see one like when they were saying like the battle was stilted against them because the demons had numbers, but I saw some dead orcs in the background. But that was all we saw of the orcs.
They used them as cannon fodder.
I mean, for all we know, we're gonna get to that stage where it's gonna be like the orcs are just like normal people with green skin.
Yeah, it's true. I hope they're at least jacked though.
I mean,
when I see an orc in an anime, I want them to be jacked.
Yeah, they're either jacked or they're pig people. That's the only way they know how to do them.
God, now you're just making me think of Peter Grill.
I mean, I was going more for like when they met the orcs and slime, like reincarnated as a slime. But yeah, thanks for reminding me of that.
Yeah. Yeah, so then the next stage after he forms the alliance is that he has like this vision, right? Yes. He's like, the goddess, whatever her name is. I don't remember what her name is specifically.
Lind, something like that.
Something. She comes to him, blesses him, gives like this sword, sick ass holy sword that he can then beat the demon lord with.
Yes, and was it her who told him the demon lord will arrive when there's a red ring on the moon?
Yeah, so it's basically like an eclipse, right? There's like a red moon, there's like a sun when it goes over, forms or the moon forms a red ring behind it. That's when this bad guy, his name starts with an M, don't remember it. He on that specific day can then summon the demon lord. Yes. So there's another villain who's not the demon lord. He's just another bad guy.
Which I do have to ask, like, what is your goal of summoning a demon lord? I've never understood this in games.
Well, it's like everything of your goal wanting to be the apocalypse is like, what does that really gain you? Like, it doesn't. Yeah,
you're just gonna die. You're not gonna be king of shit. He's gonna kill you first.
I mean, we never know. Some demon lords in anime are pretty nice, like the one from Sleepy Princess.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, I don't even think he's trying to do anything. He's just like, hey, stop being a dick. I kidnapped your princess.
Yeah, so we don't know who this person is. We don't see them at any point. There could be like a twist of it being like the girl, for instance, from the like the witch lady. Yeah. You never know. Could just be with someone we haven't seen yet. But yeah, on that day, he successfully summons the demon lord, and then King Kyle fights him.
Yes.
The fight ends in a very ambiguous way.
We get that they both vanished.
The
small
sword
rift closes.
Yeah, the sword is left behind. The guy who summoned the demon lord flees, never to be seen again.
Yeah. We saw the elf leader very tired and like watch the rift close. Again, no work.
Yep, still no work. We don't know if he died or if he was fine. We'll meet him later. We don't know how long orcs live for in this place.
I mean, I'm assuming not very long, but
then all hope seems lost or like that. But then turns out that King Kyle's old girlfriend is in fact pregnant.
Yeah, which I mean, they do mention how demon activity went down, but they were saying in 100 years when he could summon him again, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, when the whole red ring thing happens again, we don't know what'll happen. We don't know. They don't know how injured the demon lord is.
Yeah.
They don't know what happened to King Kyle. But then with this lady able to give birth to someone of the bloodline, they assume now there's no fact about this. They assume that his bloodline will be able to use the sword.
He met her like what was it like 3 months later? Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, I'm with child, and he meets his ex and basically goes, "Oh, you're having a kid. It must be mine." It's like that's a bit of a jump there, dude.
We don't know their relationship, so let's just assume that's fine. Obviously, she was 100% true to him. The thing is, they even say in there that there is No one else could use the holy sword, and they assume someone of his bloodline can. There was no official word on
Yeah.
that. The goddess is not like, only your bloodline will use this sword.
Yeah, no,
She said nothing along those lines.
She said, "Here's a sword. Use it to kill the Demon King."
Yeah, so they assume anyways that someone of his bloodline will be able to use
Yeah.
the sword. So they're like, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to put you in sleep. We're going to put you in,
Yeah.
in a slumber
Like
for like 100 years.
He wasn't even born. It was, we're gonna put your mom asleep.
So I have multiple complaints about this next part. So they put the mom to sleep so that in 100 years, when it's getting closer to the time of the demon having to be summoned, or the demon lord being summoned, then there will be someone of his bloodline.
Yeah.
Even though they could have just let him be born, have kids, and let it all play out.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they make sure, like, hey, have a kid,
Yeah.
make sure your kid has a kid, and go down that line. I mean, maybe they're worried about it being diluted or something like that, but
Yeah, true. But yeah, so anyways, the mom then, she's frozen or sleeping or whatever the hell, however they do it.
they Ocarina timed this. She
Yeah.
just went to a temple, fell asleep for 100 years, and woke up.
So when she wakes up, she has the child, and they live semi-happily for what we're assuming is 2 to 5 years.
Yeah, which they established that she's basically just living in some village in buttfuck nowhere.
Yeah, okay. So this comes in my main complaint. We obviously know his mom dies. Even Dominic's
Yeah.
says right here that, then demons attacked and your mom got killed.
It's like, first of all, why the fuck weren't you protecting
Yeah, I'm like,
her?
okay, so this is your one shot apparently in the 100
Yeah.
years of stopping the demon lord is having this child.
Yeah, you couldn't put a ward up.
And there's like no protection. You don't have any of your students. Dominic's doesn't want. She's not staying at the Sage
Yeah,
Tower.
why?
Like, there's so many questions here. Like, how stupid this is. Because what if he also died?
Yeah, if he died, it's game over.
We don't know how he didn't die at this point because like it seems like he probably would have. But
I hate to go back to this, but I feel like it's gonna be a Goblin Slayer thing where she like hit him in a closet or something. They just didn't see him.
yeah, maybe.
But even that begs a few different questions.
Yeah, but anyway, the main question here is that why were they so stupid? You have this
Yeah.
one shot, you would definitely 100% protect her, especially in somewhere like the Sage Tower that we've already been introduced to.
Yeah, I mean, even
It's
if,
up in the sky.
even if you didn't want him to know he's the son of the king for some reason, I have a feeling that the idea of magical wards exist. You could have hidden the village. You could have protected it. You could have just blown the goddamn demons up when they showed up.
Yeah, but just like how he has these like apprentices at the Sage Tower, he
Yeah.
could have then trained Castle from when he's a younger age,
Yeah.
giving him more likely chance of being able to defeat the Demon Lord.
Yeah.
I'm not going to blame bad writing yet because we haven't seen where it goes. Maybe there's all logical reasons for all this.
It's video game writing.
Yeah, as of right now, I'm going to assume it's bad writing, but in the future, maybe there'll be all these reasons why she had to stay this specific area, or maybe she did have protection, but a
It
super
failed.
strong demon showed up or something like that. Like there might be more.
Yeah.
He was just giving them a brief explanation of what happened.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't deep diving. Maybe eventually we'll see a flashback.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely potential for that. I just feel like this is designed so that you have that backstory so he has a reason to go out on an adventure.
And then the other piece of lore then you get in this episode is also why the Dark Elves are
Correct.
on the outs basically, and it's just that King Kyle's half older sister. I think it was like it wasn't Ilya.
Ilya.
Was it Ilya? Okay. So she wanted to protect. She wanted to help King Kyle fight off all these demons and save the world. And
Yeah.
she's like, oh well, I'll get stronger and I'll perfect my techno magic. I think is what they called it.
I was thinking that. It's like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I just picture like a huge tech rave, techno magic.
You know what it probably is? It's probably they wanted to use the term magic tech, but they were scared of Square
Final
Enix.
Fantasy, yeah. So she's like, I'll perfect this techno magic. They don't tell us what it is, but then
Well,
what
they do.
But yeah, they don't tell us what it is at the time, and then later in the episode when they describe her idea of trying to help him, is she's like, hey, I will create myself, is what we're assuming, like a
Yeah.
copy, like another holy sword.
Yeah, which that first of all, you already have a holy sword.
Yeah, you don't
Make a bomb.
The thing is, you don't both need to kill the demon lord. She could just make herself a strong weapon or get stronger and help him in all the other ways.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's. I'm assuming it would be more effective against demons than normal swords.
Yeah. So she uses this techno magic to try and make herself a holy sword. Do they comment of whether or not she finishes it? Because all they say,
She finished it, but it didn't matter because when she was trying to deliver it, she died.
yeah, but where's that sword at then, Jimmy? That's
don't
got to be a
know.
plot point, right?
It probably will be. Yeah.
Because the thing is, I feel like there's going to be still this connection somehow between the main character Castle and then that main dark elf guy.
Yeah.
And then, so I think the dark elf guy eventually is going to get the dark holy sword, and I don't know if he's going to use it in a good way or a bad way.
We don't even know if it's dark. For all we know, it's the exact same damn sword.
Yeah, but I still feel like they have dual main character potential, and I think that both of them need an equal weapon. So
we did see a little bit more of the Dark Elves this episode. I mean,
yeah,
they weren't
they're
our focus.
They're just
but-
normal folk, they're just still a little bit mad. But yeah, so the reason they're mad then is on her way, King Kyle starts fighting the demon lord. She's like, "Oh, I need to go help him. I'll take my new magic sword I created," and she leaves.
Yeah.
She dies along the way, off screen. Once again, anytime an off screen death happens, we don't know if they're actually dead.
Yeah, for all we know, the sword just didn't work. She's like, well, fuck this, and just went home.
Yeah, so she died along the way, and then post her death and post the Demon Lord fight, they found all of her notes about creating it, and that goes, since their god was the one who gave him the sword, this is like heresy goes against their god.
Yeah, which I mean, we don't even know if they found her notes. For all we know, she announced like, "Hey guys, I made a new holy sword," and she just left.
So yeah, but she was never shown as a bad character, and then what happens is they literally start like killing dark elves. It's like,
I mean, I don't even know if they said they killed them. They just said that they became ostracized.
yeah, I feel like there were some implications that some not so nice things happened to them.
I mean, oh, definitely, they left for a reason. But
So anyway, I understand heresy bad. This is like a holy kingdom, but yeah,
very
very
fault. All
very,
that.
I'm on the side of the dark elves now for the fact that their race has suffered a lot in 100 years for that reason.
One person made a mistake. It didn't turn out, and now your entire race isn't allowed in the city.
But yeah, the issue is that like King Kyle was gone. Obviously, if King Kyle was not gone, that probably would have turned out very different.
Yeah,
but he was gone, and we don't know who took the lead, who took charge after that,
because his bloodline was gone.
Yeah, they did not introduce anyone else that would have we don't know who took over. It was probably just a bunch of nobles.
Yeah, but the thing is, there is a king now, so somebody put their bloodline in power.
Yeah, it was probably just some nobles took over. One of them was more powerful than the other ones, and they eventually just took over as the kings.
Yeah. For all the good they've done.
So yeah, so we see a couple of the dark elves there once again. They're just kind of chilling, eating some food, and they're talking about how like the dark elves actually hate Ilya because it was her fault that they were all persecuted and that kind of stuff. So they all oh, I wish I could go back and punch her in the face.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, she obviously kind of doomed your race, but once again, it's not showing that they're not like bad folk. They're literally just like they got cucked, and it was out of their control completely. And now they're just trying to like get revenge in like a sense and take back something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say the end justifies the means or anything like that, but they could definitely go about this in a more constructive way.
I mean, we don't know. Like, if they might just try and stage a very simple coup and not actually hurt anyone and just find. Like, we don't know exactly what their plan is.
When was the last time you heard of a bloodless takeover in terms of royalty?
Listen, it's anime. Anything can happen. The humans aren't nearly strong enough to even fight them. So, like, what threat could they even pose?
I mean, yeah, they're probably just gonna kill the fucking king and take over. But
yeah, but we don't know like if their plan is to do this before all the demon lord and the demon army stuff. If they're gonna do that, then do it after because I mean, post war.
If they do it before the demon lord shows up, you got a bit of a Hamlet situation there, where it's like, yay, I'm in charge. I've got the throne now, but now there's an army knocking at my door and I can't fight them.
Yeah, if you do it post demon lord army, it also means post war. Typically, your country's not at its strongest.
Yeah.
So that would be a good time, but then you also risk them not beating the demon lord, and then you take over nothing. So we don't know how their plan's going to go, but they show us a little bit of perspective from them, just kind of keeping up my dreams that it's going to be a dual perspective show with two main characters.
They're definitely going to bounce around more. I just don't know if we're actually going to get a lot of ideas from the other side.
Yeah, and then how it finishes is literally just Castle Frey. I'm trying to remember the other two names. Roy, I believe, is the one guy's name.
Close. I think.
I feel like it's Roy.
I don't think it's Roy.
You're thinking of the blonde dude. I'm thinking of the thiefy guy.
Okay, yes.
And what's the lady magician's name?
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay, well,
I feel like it starts with an L, but
the four of them are instructed by Dominiques to basically go to the Elven city right now, meet up with the lady who was in the war thing to learn how to unseal the holy weapon so Castle can use it.
Yeah, because apparently each person involved in sealing it has part of the key.
Yeah, which means eventually we're going to have to meet some sort of orc, I'm assuming.
Yeah, did Dominics give them his part of the key?
No. Maybe he'll be last.
Yeah, like what? Are they going to show it back to him? It's like, hey, you never gave us your part, by the way. He's like,
maybe he did. He just didn't give it to them right there. Maybe they have it like secretly on them, or
I mean, they might have just skipped that part as well. And we're supposed to just
assume. So that starts the plot of this season, the adventure. The four of them. We got our party. They're gonna go off, going to the elf place to get some stuff. Hopefully, getting stronger along the way. And then we also have the dark elves doing their stuff. So I'm now. It took a while, but I'm invested finally.
Yeah, it's getting more interesting.
I'm curious. From like the first episode, I was very mixed opinions, but at least now I'm like, oh, I'm excited to see where the next episode goes. We got some traveling.
Yeah, we've come pretty far from guy likes to eat spiders.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're still gonna see him eat more bugs, unfortunately.
I mean, that's definitely gonna come up during travel. So,
but yeah, we get to see. I don't know how long it's gonna take them to get to like the Elven City, but we still have to see the main character get stronger. He is not currently very good. And even to use the Holy Sword, he first has to be pretty strong. So we're hopefully going to get to see him grow a little bit.
I mean, we don't know that. For all we know, he's going to pick up the swords. It's going to immediately teach him how to be the best fighter he can be.
I hope that's not the case. I hope he gets strong along the way. with this whole party, you know, they learn new stuff, they grow. There's going to be some dark episodes, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to get a little bit from the mage and a little bit from the thief, and I don't know if we're going to get that much from Frey.
Yeah, I don't know
Healers
either.
tend to get the short end of the stick in these types of series, so
Yeah, well, I mean, they're not as interesting to watch. I feel like
Yeah.
we're going to learn that Roy's a thief. When he described Roy, he just said he has talents.
yeah, that's exactly how you describe a thief. 'cause
That's
you don't want to
thiefy
say,
stuff. Yeah.
Like I got very much from Fire Emblem Rekka no Ken. I got a Matthew and is it Lisa or Sarah from the cleric from
Like the pink-haired one.
yeah.
That's Sarah.
Yeah, I got very much that kind of vibe from them. So
I was getting more like a Gaius vibe from like Awakening. He had like the orange
Yeah.
hair, you know, still a thief.
I mean, yeah, I was just getting
Except for
more
he didn't have like a lollipop on him, but
yeah, it was really more just the
like the duel, like they're like
I'm
dynamic.
I'm her babysitter.
Yeah, like she's an annoying girl. I'm the more like serious one. Yeah, I could get that dynamic. We got a good episode. I'm excited for next week, which is all I want is to have anime I'm excited to watch. Not when I'm like, oh, I have to watch this before the episode.
I mean, it is on Friday, so that detracts a little bit.
Yeah, it's still definitely not at the exact top of my Friday list.
Yeah.
But at least I'm excited to watch it, and I'm excited to see where it goes and how many episodes we're going to get and all that kind of stuff. So
I'm still at this point. I have no idea. Once I'm back to work, how I'm going to watch all this before we film on Sundays.
yeah, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
if we need to change the film days, we will at some point. But it just depends. As we get into
sleep,
as we get into winter season 2, obviously there's driving, that kind of stuff to worry about. So we'll
yeah.
figure out more things as we go. So if you like this episode of King Raid, leave a comment.
Yeah.
Of course, let us know any of your thoughts, any of your theories, anything like that. This is a show that can have active theories on it, which I like.
True.
It's a show where you can try and plan stuff up. You know,
It is,
be like,
and even if you just played the games, we'd like to hear your opinion on that. If it's worth picking up, and
yeah, of course. Okay. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is Jujutsu. This episode was episode 3. Was it Girl of Steel?
yes,
Okay. Title name. I disagreed with the title technically, but I mean, it is mainly an introduction to their third member of Squad 7.
Yeah.
It's not called Squad 7, but it might as well be because it's Naruto.
I mean, yeah,
So yeah, a lot of it, we see her briefly at the end of the last episode. This episode, they're picking her up, and then they're going around Tokyo. She's also a small town girl. He's a small town boy.
definitely an interesting personality on her.
Yeah, a lot of personality on her.
Yeah, like she's literally like trying to force herself on a recruiter at the start. It's just like
Yeah, where he like walks by and he talks to her and the girl's like, "Oh, you look good enough to model." And she's like, "No, thank you." And she's like, "What about me? I'll model for you." And he's like, "Oh, no, thank you."
yeah. I mean, she isn't made out to be like unattractive, so I'm confused about why the guy was like, "Wait, someone's coming to me for this shit."
It's
Like,
probably just her level of like aggressiveness. I feel like especially in Japanese culture, they really like the shy girls. Like there's a certain like standard they have for idols, unless there's one very specific person that are like, you're gonna be the aggressive one. Like they literally pre-plan that shit. So it probably just wasn't what he was looking for.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of the episode is to introduce her, show us a little bit about her character, show her some of her fighting.
Yeah, a little bit of her backstory.
Yeah, a little bit of backstory, which I mean,
You kind of mentioned earlier.
I did kind of mention earlier. I don't know why those two backstories just like linked together for me.
I mean, they were very, very similar in the sense that you had an older sister character taking care of someone who was kind of left alone. So
Yes, okay. So let me describe her backstory for you. I got it right locked in my head.
please see timestamp here and come back.
She is a small town girl living in a lonely world. Okay, I'll stop that now. But basically, this lady moves to the town. I'm assuming that this girl's in like her early 20s. It kind of seems like she like bought this house, lives there. At first, I was like, "Oh, is she a teenager?" But like,
I think she's a teenager.
With anime, it could be because you don't need parents to live in your house when you're an anime character.
But her family was there. They
Were
just
they?
never showed them.
Oh.
She moved there with her family, and they just never cared about the parents because they weren't important to her story.
Yeah, I kind of when I watched it, I had like the feeling that it was like an early 20 moved to the town to be like a teacher or something like some sort of like situation like that. They don't really need to give us the exact details. That's not the point.
Yeah,
but it's a Tokyo girl moves to the small town, and then all of the other people in the town basically they're just kind of dicks. They're like, "Oh, big Tokyo girl thinks she's better than us small town folks. She thinks we're dumb." So they
like what is this like a common thing?
It might be in like there are some extremely small towns in Japan.
Yeah.
Which are very like isolated. Not a lot of people go to them. So, but like for most of, I watch a lot of like, Japanese travel vlogs and stuff like that. And a lot of these small town people are so excited to have people come there.
Yeah.
And they're all so nice.
I mean, it might be different if you're visiting versus trying to move in.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the two are also. Some people might argue, and once again, I've never been there, but it seems a lot of people are really nice to foreigners too.
Sure.
And then I'm sure there are also people who do not like foreigners in their place. Like some places specifically have like no foreigners allowed in like restaurants and stuff like that. But I feel like that's less and less all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to say no to the money because if they're traveling, they obviously have some cash to spend.
Yeah, especially because Japan's not cheap to travel to.
Yeah.
Depending on where you're from. If you're in an Asian country, it's actually really easy. It's like an hour flight from like Korea to Japan or something.
Yeah.
So easy to go back and forth. But if you're from like North America, it's an expensive trip.
It is, yes.
As weebs, all of us have looked at it at some point. We're all like, yeah, I'd go to Japan. I'd take
It's
a
like,
trip.
I don't have the money for it, but I would definitely like
Yeah.
to.
But yeah, so basically it shows like a little montage of like, they're not like, people aren't like shoveling her like laneway or stuff like that. Which
I mean, first of all, do it yourself.
that's
bitch.
technically your own responsibility.
Like, I understand that they go around, they do it for everyone because it's the neighborly thing to do, but
Yeah, we never know too. It could be like a rented building or something like that, or there could be a specific company that takes care of that and they're not doing it.
yeah, which, I mean, I get. I mean, I've never been particularly upset if I woke up in the morning and someone hadn't done my lane for me, but
Now, I will say that I expected it to end darker than it did. They kept making references to this like bridge that was like destroyed
Yeah.
or something like that. And when they kept making reference to that, I was like, okay, this girl's gonna die on this bridge, or she's gonna hang herself off this bridge, or like something
Yeah.
darker because they keep referencing it.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's where she first saw a curse, but it wasn't
Yeah.
from what we expected. So
Yeah. So then what happens is this girl's constantly being like bullied in a sense for being basically just an out of towner, for being like a city folk. It
Yeah.
shows like her van being like go home, like you suck, like all this kind of stuff, like destroyed. All written on that kind of
Which, I mean,
stuff.
how useless are the cops here?
Yeah, I know. But the cops probably also hate her.
I mean, true, yeah.
So yeah, and then the story for her backstory basically is then this lady leaves. So she goes back to Tokyo.
Yeah.
The main girl, I do not remember her name for the life of me. It's only been one episode. As we get a few episodes in, I'm sure I'll
Yeah.
memorize it. But yeah, she was obviously upset at this point. She was a kid who really liked this girl. They like hung out. They had
Yeah.
fun.
She was an older sister character.
She brought her like treats from Tokyo and stuff like that from like
well,
this
she
bakery.
didn't bring treats. She baked her stuff, and she said the ones from the bakeries are better.
Yeah, so it shows the girl's main reason for joining like Jujutsu Tech or whatever it's called, and like fighting curses is just so that she could go to the city. She's like, yeah, they paid for like my travel, my expenses, and like this is a way I can go to the city.
Yeah.
And the main character's like, are you sure that's like a good enough reason to risk your life? And she's like, it's my dream. It's like my passion, so why not?
It's my
and
life.
And he literally acknowledged. He's like, yeah. He's like, that's true. It's like if it's something you care about, then it works.
I mean, he technically was doing it just because his granddad said to. So
Yeah. So basically, yeah, she with joining Jujutsu Tech, they paid for her transport and her living expense, that kind of stuff. So now she could live in Tokyo, and she made reference to like hopefully she'll run into her there one day.
yeah,
And stuff like
At
that.
the very end, I think when she was going into a bakery, she's like, I hope I meet her again.
Yeah, exactly. Throughout the middle part, a lot of it's just like a test. So they're Kakashi Sensei, because he's just Kakashi.
I know he's got just instead of covering the mouth, he covered the eyes. They're not being very subtle.
Yeah, well, I mean, Kakashi also covered one eye.
I mean,
So.
okay, yeah.
So yeah, so he takes them there to test out their abilities. He keeps the spiky haired guy back because he says, A, you're like kind of injured, and B, like this is mainly a test for her. Because even the guy's like, oh, like aren't you, I'm a little worried about. I'm really gonna have to master their names at one point.
Yeah, I'm actually having a bad day. I can't remember any of them.
They're tough names, but yeah, he's like, I'm more worried about the guy, and the guy's like, no, this is actually a test for like the girl.
Yeah.
Because then the main character runs into a curse like midway through, and they decide to split up, and he just instantly just destroys that
Yeah,
curse.
he cuts it down, no effort.
But then when it flashes back to like their sensei, and he's like, yeah, like he is a weirdo because he has like no difficulty like making these decisions. He's like, most people would like struggle. Some of these are like humanoid looking, like there's all these like there's like hard decisions to make when you're killing one sometimes.
Yeah,
And he like doesn't struggle at all.
Yeah, he said a lot of people burn out. They give up because they can't make these decisions or disconnect. Some of them do look humanoid.
Now I'm just saying here, this sensei is way too on the nose with exactly what's happening.
I mean, he's wearing a blindfold. For all we know, he knows what's going on.
I mean, maybe, but did he specifically set up these curses? Because he's talking about how like he wants to test her like ability to make like tough decisions, which is then immediately followed by her being in like a hostage situation. I'm like,
I mean,
okay,
yeah, there's a good chance he knew what was going on. That's why he chose that building. So
yeah. So the main character quickly dispatches his curse. This is around the same time we learned that like this test is not about him.
Yeah.
Which as a viewer you're kind of expecting anyways because this is her episode.
He's already wrecked some shit. And he's already done his part.
Yeah, so she goes upstairs and she finds a curse and she like quickly destroys the curse, no big deal. and then a young child is there, and she's like, "Oh, like come on, child," and he's like scared. She's like, "Oh, well, I'll go get the guy because maybe you'll like him more."
Yeah.
And then when that happens, a weaker curse comes out. So it's not like it's a strong curse.
Yeah, but it's holding a kid hostage.
It's holding the kid hostage basically, and then it shows like an internal struggle where she's like, "Hey, like if I kill the curse and he kills the kid, then only the kid dies. But if I put down my weapons and the curse kills me, then the curse kills me and the kid dies." She's like, "So it's smarter for me like to not really think about the hostage situation, just do it." Right? It's technically logical.
Yeah, it's the same as I think it was what was it Speed that did it where you shoot the hostage to take them out of the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there is a logic to it. It's a little cold hearted.
Well, it's like anything. It's like even I remember like doing driver's training, for instance, is that for most situations, if you hit a pedestrian, you're not at fault because like the pedestrian's there, and like, but if you like stop, let's say if a person runs in front of the road and you hit them, there's no technical consequence. But if you stop and then a car hits you, you're paying for that. You're getting demerits, and like obviously one's a legal thing and one's a moral thing. Like you're gonna have much more struggle in life having hit that person with the moral implications, but like technically the law would almost prefer if you hit someone. So in her mind, it's like one of those situations where it's like she's thinking logical. So we're like, okay, like she's just gonna say screw the hostage, but then she decides to put down her weapon anyways.
I mean, it's shown. She's not gonna kill a kid.
Yes, obviously, yeah. She's not gonna take out a kid in the first episode she's shown. But yeah, she puts down her weapon, just accepting that, she'll probably die. And then even as she puts it down, she's like, "Oh, well, let the kid go." And then she's like, "Of course he's not letting the kid go." She's like, she knew that there was nothing else she would expect.
Yeah.
But she's still like hopeful. But then, the main character, just tough as nails, tough as nails.
God damn.
Punches through the concrete, cuts off the curse's hand, and then the curse like flees.
I mean, the thing is, like, first of all, he punches through the wall. He's like, "Wait, I missed."
Yeah, he's like, "Oops." Punches through, misses, but then he pulls out his cool new knife he got, and then he cuts off the hand, and then the curse flees. Yeah. So he saved the child, and then as the curse flees, the lady at this point, we've already kind of seen what her power is a little bit.
Yeah, she uses nails and a magic hammer, or
with
I guess the curse
with
hammer.
a little heart on it. Yeah. So yeah, what she does is she's like, "Throw me that hand now," and he's like, "Okay," and he kicks her the hand, and then she uses like a classic curse doll, and then puts it on the hand, and then stabs it, and then the curse dies.
Yeah, which, I mean, that is a pretty useful thing. I mean, I don't know how often you're actually going to have a piece of a curse. But...
I was really hoping when I first saw her use the hammer that it was going to be she like hits nails at people, which she did do. So I was excited about that. Like throws the nails up and smokes them. Like, okay. So, I mean, the thing is, which I found funny, is that like obviously it shows a little bit of her character, like making like knowing what's the right choice and what's the wrong choice, but then doing the wrong one actively. Yeah, shows some stuff, but I still did find it kind of weird that the main character is still the one that got out of this, got her out of the situation, which is still save the day.
Again, I'm gonna play it's a shonen card. He has to save the day.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was expecting it, but I was kind of hoping that she'd find her own way to turn the situation around.
Oh yeah, it would have been nice, but my big question too is, did she pass the test?
She must have.
Because, I mean, she technically made the wrong choice, and that technically should have got her killed.
Yeah, but I think
it might have been just like, is she going to give up her morals? Or
yeah, I feel like the point was just that she could make the decision. It wasn't really that even if she made the wrong one, she still made a choice. Yeah. The whole point of the guy was talking about like having to make these tough decisions. True. It's not about picking the right decision. It's just about making them. So many people just can't do it, so they stop. She at least picked a side. She picked what choice she wanted. She took her own consequences. Yeah. Good episode once again. The fights looked really good. The main character just flips around like crazy.
Yeah, he does not fuck around. He's definitely I feel like giving him a knife was almost the wrong choice. I kind of wanted to see him just be a brawler. But...
Yeah, because I was hoping that like they used cursed weapons, but he's like so strong he doesn't need them because his whole body is like technically a cursed object.
Even then, Kakashi, I'm just gonna use that for now. Said like he's basically half cursed already. So
I feel like the knife is more for now as like a starter until he like masters his powers a little bit more. Especially because he specifically didn't want him to bring out the full demon, which I think was more of a because then he'd solve the issue too fast.
I mean, yeah, he literally said like if he brings him out, like the problem is done. Like it's gonna be instantly resolved.
Yeah, so that obviously does not then figure out test the girl and all that kind of stuff. So it was a good episode. One of the probably still most exciting ones for Friday.
Yeah, which there was one more thing that happened in the episode. I don't know if you watch right until the end, but they do mention in a demon appearing at a prison.
Oh, okay, yes. So yeah, right. The big cliffhanger. They mentioned the demon appearing. It was like almost like a fetus demon in the sky appearing in like a detention center, and then it's like you're getting like a narrative being like 3 first years were sent to deal with this, and 1 died.
Yeah, which I'm kind of curious about how they're going to deal with that. Because do we have a character A that they're going to kill?
No, not one of the main three. And there's only 3 first years.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's like, it's probably something with the main character.
Yeah, I have a feeling they're gonna like kill him as a fake out, just to like get his execution put off.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be too early to take away the execution card
that's
off
what
the
I was
table.
thinking, but I can't think of another way they're gonna.
So
get
it's
around
obviously a mislead, but right now it's more just us trying to guess
For all
what
we know,
the
it's
mislead
not.
could
For
be.
all we know, they're actually gonna guff someone. Maybe the female character didn't test as well as they liked, and they're gonna kill her off.
I think it's like a 90% chance or higher. It's probably going to be a mislead. It's more just like guess of how they're going to do it. I feel like it's going to be something with the main character and his demon side.
Yeah.
Like they're going to think he's dead, but then he's going to like revive because like you can't kill the demon, even though technically they said if it's inside his body. But that's only if he has all the parts.
No, they said if a curse is inside you, but they both die.
Oh darn!
It's not you have to complete the demon to die, otherwise I would just not eat the last one.
So, yeah, still in my mind, obvious misdirect, but I guess now we're just gonna. That's like the big cliffhanger of the episode. We're gonna have to wait to see.
I mean, have they really done anything with the spiky hair dude?
No.
So.
But that's what they need to grow his character more, though. If anything, he'll probably have a decent part in like the next arc.
I mean, hopefully, but they could just be trying to get away from the Naruto comparison, getting rid of the Sasuke.
Maybe it's just 3 whole separate first years, like there's a second branch of the school and it's those first years went there.
I mean, that is possible too.
Yeah, either way, probably a mislead, but I'm excited to see where it goes. And then the most important part about the episode is actually that someone told me to stay and watch the ending.
Yeah.
Which I had seen before, but I forgot that I'd seen it, and it was a good ending.
It is.
I always like to watch them in case it's going to be a new gym bop. It's not exactly a gym bop because it's more like jazzy than it is like rock or pop or something like that. But yeah, it was like it's just like them dancing and like the animation of like the ending actually reminded me of a lot of like Devilman and stuff like that. Like
that very almost sketch based animation.
Yeah, very specific art style. But yeah, it was a very good ending. It's just the characters like walking along, dancing to like the music.
The 2 things that really made me think of were Bleach and Demon Slayer, actually.
Yeah.
Because Bleach always had that street fashion and those designs to them. And even Demon Slayer is more because I remember seeing this one animation of them in streetwear, just doing
also
that one
the main
dance.
character with his orange pink hair. It's more pink than orange, but
it's that weird shade in between. So
yeah, but it was good ending. Someone commented to be like, "Hey, watch the ending." So I was like, "Okay, like I'll actively watch it." And yeah, it was very good. I was like, I'd stick around for the first couple of minutes or the first couple seconds of that ending each time just to see the main character walk down the street jamming.
Yeah.
Listen, Jimmy, it's a Friday anime. I don't have the extra minute to watch it. Every minute counts.
I am starting to regret making sure I watch the openings and endings.
Yeah. So then, finally, speaking of Friday anime, we'll talk about the last official anime in the list, which is Fire Force Season 2, Episode 16, title Mind Blown.
Which, I mean, it's kind of a letdown because it doesn't really blow your mind with this episode, does it?
No, it's not a mind-blowing episode. If anything, it's just
not a bad episode. It's just a kind of middling.
It was almost exactly what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Which was we talked about in the last episode about like we were just looking forward to like the dynamic of is it a 1 versus 1 versus 1, or is there going to be a team up between people? And we did get like a team up in multiple sections, weird team ups too that don't make 100% sense.
Yeah, because Machi decided to team up with Hajima to deal with the Plasma bitch.
Yes, kind of. They didn't actually team work at any point together.
I mean, they kind of did because Machi was dealing with the bow chick.
Yeah, she close combated the shit out of her.
Yeah.
And the arrow lady's just like, oh no. She's like, I can't do this. She's like, oh, I need to get away. And then she's like, oh, wait, no. She's matching my every single step.
Yeah, she's actually faster than me. Oh, shit, I'm done.
But even then, like, if the girl was actively, if their team helping, but then when Homia, whatever, however you pronounce it, when she then, like, got in to stop her from, fighting her, the other lady should have interrupted that so then she could have kept 1v1ing Arrow.
I mean, the Hajima chick is kind of
not a great team up. And then, but like, there's so many weird parts. Like, once again, I like Arthur sometimes, but I didn't really like the whole like Arthur and Vulcan with the plasma thing.
Yeah.
I don't know the science behind it because all the science in the show's made up of shit. But like, it seemed like a stupid cop out in like a way.
Yeah, stick your sword in a hole and it emits an EMP. Which, first of all, couldn't you just make a machine that emits an EMP?
Yeah, like also like I don't his sword, like the plasma stuff. It's like. They talk about it like it's a rare thing, like whenever he can interrupt her. But earlier on, they always mention like, oh, it's just like he just uses a plasma sword. Like it's nothing that special. Even if like he's better at using it or it's a little stronger than most people, they still mention it before like plasma swords aren't really that rare. So why is there not just someone else or can one of them use a plasma sword or like...
Yeah,
it just seems like this big plot point every time it comes to like the Homia chick, even though like it doesn't have to be.
I think it's more he's the only one in the 8th that uses plasma that's important.
It's just like the silliness with Arthur sometimes. Sometimes I think it's funny, and then sometimes like, I liked in the one time where he came out in his stupid like silver whole like donkey thing.
Yeah, it was funny once.
Yeah, and then he like took it really seriously once it was like dead, and he like becomes really strong when he takes it serious as like a mind thing for him. But yeah, I don't know about like having it as like this like plot point. I didn't like it that much in there.
Yeah, especially considering he wasn't actually doing anything. He just had his sword in there, and that was it.
Yeah, and then my other big complaint was just the team ups.
Yeah,
They were very strange. So like at the when the maid comes in, and once again, how the hell do you use firepower to frickin' necromancer people?
I mean, I'm pretty sure she was just lighting corpses on fire and turning them into pseudo infernals, but I don't know why you need an infernal for that.
Yeah, they didn't answer it. I think that was just she used like one infernal to have all the other ones feast on that infernal to make a big infernal, which also shows that she was the person who made the big infernal early on in the season.
Which apparently was like a weak one because this guy was a brawler, like he was a security guard, so this one's stronger. It's
but we haven't seen this guy do anything yet. We've only seen the atomic laser beams from Nataku.
Yeah, but she specifically said this one's stronger because she turned a security guard.
Type. Yeah,
but it's like, why does that matter?
Yeah, I don't know, but like the team up. So at one point, it's like Shinra's teaming up with
Kurono.
Yeah, Kurono, that's his name. I
But
always
the
want to
thing
say
is,
Kuroko.
was it a team up? Because he didn't actually do anything.
Yeah, they talked like they were going to team up, and then Kurono's like, too strong. I don't want to get in this fight. It's too strong.
Which I mean,
like the weak.
I think I finally figured out why I don't like this guy so much. Because
he abuses children?
Well, no. Yes.
That seems like the obvious answer to me, Jimmy.
Okay, so if you look back at Soul Eater, which is the guy who created Soul Eater as well. Mm-hmm. Like if you looked at Medusa, she also abused her child.
Yep.
But you could still look at her and think like there was a reason for it, and people liked Medusa.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine anyone looking at this dude and liking him.
Well, they haven't given us any backstory technically, so maybe they'll come out at one point and give us backstory on him to try and make you like him.
I know, but his whole thing is like, there's a big fight going on. I'm gonna go try and stab a little girl.
Yeah, he wants the little weak ones laying on the ground.
Yeah, and even his boss calls him up. It's like, yeah, no, I was trying to beat up some weak people instead of doing my job. It's like, what do you mean I'm an idiot?
When I was watching it, so yeah, some of my big problems were the team ups, but even something like that, for instance, it was like funny, but I didn't want him to be like a funny character. I wanted him just to be like
a bad guy.
Yeah, you don't like him. Like there should be no reason to like this guy. That's like the interesting part. There should be no reason, even in the situation, to want to team up with him when like he like abuses children, and like Shinra knows this. He's like insane, and then like the boss calling and stuff like that. It's just. Then he's like, "Oh, I'll team up with you now," but then he still doesn't team up.
He doesn't do anything. And Shinra's like, "Okay, yeah, you deal with him while I draw the laser beams." And he just sits there and stares and goes, "I think I need to get a new job." It's
so there wasn't really a point to the whole call other than to be funny, and other than just making something funny for the sake of being funny without having a point. I was just like, that didn't really need to be there. And then like the whole like Homiya comes in just to mess with them, and she's messing with her own side too.
Yeah,
and then it's like Karan or Sharon or however it's pronounced, he's like, "Oh, Shinra, I'll team up." He's like, "I'll protect you now." It makes sense because obviously they still need Shinra alive because he's a pillar.
He's there to protect the pillar, so he's like, "I'll team up with you."
But then to say they'll actively team up, but Shinra, both of them gain nothing by teaming up because if they win, then the kid's still going to be taken away. Like,
well, I mean, it puts them in a position where they can fight over the kid because as it is now, they can't really do anything about the kid.
Yeah, but I mean, they technically, like the Charon guy doesn't really need to fight because if he doesn't fight, they still win because they have him inside the body, locked away.
I mean, we don't even know if this bitch can control him.
Yeah, I don't. It was just it was so many weird team up things mixing in. It wasn't just like one dynamic. They kept like switching up, which maybe you would argue is like interesting, but it didn't make a lot of sense a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And then the Arthur thing went on too long. It wasn't that funny. And then
then you have Inka who is just kind of rolls up. It's like, oh wow, this is going on. She's talking to the maid, and she's like, "Oh, if you keep staying there, you'll die." And she's like, "Oh, really?" And takes
like steps out of the way. Yeah,
it's like I don't know what tone they're going for at this point.
Yeah, because then the whole issue is basically that like she makes the giant necromancer thing. It like
and it just stands there.
It like it grabs whatever his name is, Nataku, whatever his name is, and then his like final form Adola wakes up because.
Which is radiation.
Yeah, like Homiya makes him go like crazy, basically, and he gets like the stars in his eyes, and his mouth has like Rekka in it as like an art style thing.
Which I mean, there's a whole lot I want to talk about with him. Because first of all, before the whole zombie giant thing shows up, they're fighting over him, and they're basically playing basketball.
Yeah, like once again, it was comedy in a sense where I don't know if that was the best place for comedy when I wanted it to be taken seriously. Because they're like, oh yeah, like that's a fumble, and they grabbed him, and they're like, oh, you should get a foul. Like it was just like. They're all playing around, even though this would be a very serious situation.
I mean, again, I hate to go back to Soul Eater, where I know that they put like little funny moments into the fights, but I don't think they ever went this bad.
Yeah, because this is literally, it's about, there's a character in here whose job and love is abusing children. And
Yeah.
then now they're making him have all these jokes while he's like playing football, picking up the kid that he abused. It's not like I'm like offended by it, but yeah, I just don't know if comedy was, I feel like this could be a part they could take seriously and save the comedy for
It's
their
very,
different
very-
aspects. Or
Like, it's okay when you're doing comedy, like when they're traveling through the desert when they were on the main continent, and they're all high on the gas and they're like screaming and all that. It's like, okay, that's a down moment.
yeah.
In the middle of the fight trying to save a kid, if you're busting out, hey, they're playing basketball with this kid who's been heavily abused, and the child abuser is like putting a teddy bear in one of the big bad guy's hands and walking away with the kids. Like, what are you trying to do here?
Yeah, the episode had so many like, I had so many mixed feelings in the episode.
Yeah.
Where like I wanted it to be like an all hype episode with just all these good team ups and fights, and it just like didn't really happen. They kind of kept and like the tone kept switching and like the pace kept switching. It'd be like, oh, this fight's about to start. Like, you know, his Adola burst just woke up. He has got these like, you know, nuclear lasers basically, and then but then they'd go to switch over to Arthur playing with like a sword and a stone for like 5 minutes, and
and even then, like at the start where he's like, wait, you got the story wrong. The sword comes out of the stone, it doesn't go into it, and Vulcan's like, oh shit, he actually knows the story.
but even then, like it was like Arthur was literally at the fight with them all. And then like
he walked away to do this.
He was there, and then Vulcan was coming to pick him up, and then he like fell off, and they weren't even there yet. Yeah, and they weren't there yet, but he was already there to begin with. So where was he then that he jumped off the building, landed on the car, to then drive closer towards them when he was already there? It like just didn't make any sense.
I think
That's what I was wondering.
I think Vulcan was trying to take him back towards the matchbox, which was further away.
Yeah, I don't. It wasn't like it was a bad episode. It was just a very weird episode with pace, mood, all that kind of stuff. Like it kept going weirdly up and down. I hope I like the next episode a little bit more. I hope we just have a strict fight kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
this makes me think of old shonen almost, where they would pull in that they would slot filler into the show to make it last longer.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they just got the wrong writer to write the filler.
I also feel like we all know that the evangelist is probably going to get Nataku when it's over.
I mean, I don't know.
Because I feel like that's just like the only result I see coming from this, and then leading up to like probably one final like arc part that is like the season finale.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the 8th ends up with him, but he's broken because he's got the whole Rekka thing going on.
Yeah, he seems a little messed up.
Yeah.
The art style thing with the mouth thing was a little weird. I didn't 100% comprehend that.
I mean, even then, they're talking about the infected imagination, which led to all this. And Halmi is talking about it as well. It's like, how the fuck does she know what term he uses? Is she able to read minds as well?
Maybe. We don't know. She's just insane, right? That's her whole thing is she's just crazy. We don't have her backstory, but we know she was already a pillar and kind of crazy by the time she was a child.
Yeah.
Because then like the flashbacks with Shinra, right? She's like a young kid and she's already insane. So one day they'll have to give us her backstory. Of course, we got a little bit of fanfic at 1.2 where she just jumps on Arrow and rips her clothes off. She electric shocks her clothes right off for some reason.
That was another moment of like, what the fuck are you going for here?
It definitely was not my favorite episode of Fire Force, especially not after I had some episodes of the season that I really, really loved, just because everything was just all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to take back what I said earlier where I said it was a middling episode. This is definitely a low point for the series, I think.
Yeah, I would probably agree. Maybe they'll pick it up next episode. Like maybe they'll get a little more organized. Maybe it'll just be, Kurano, Shinra, and, Charon fighting the big thing, trying to, and then they'll put, I don't know how they'll figure out at the end who gets the kid. I mean, they'll just fight for it then.
Yeah, I mean, even then, I feel like Charon kind of has the advantage because I don't think he can even take damage at this point still. So,
yeah, I mean, he's too tough. And yeah, Shinra hasn't really found an effective way.
Yeah, Shinra countered him once, then Charon's like, okay, now I know what you're going to do.
Yeah, then he just doesn't have to do it. And yeah, so weird episode. Next one, hopefully be better. That's all I can. That's all I can pray for. Yeah. I still am really excited for the end of Fire Force. Not like the end of Fire Force.
The season finale.
Yeah, like because season 1 got so hyped at the end with the fight between Shinra and Sho. I want like that level of intensity and like stakes again. And right now I'm not getting it from this current arc. That's for sure. No. So we got that to look forward to. Hopefully, it might have been a worse episode than I'm used to, but that's behind me now. And we can only pray that next week gets a little bit better.
Yep.
If you watched this episode and you thought it was your favorite episode of all time, you're wrong. But you can leave a comment down below and let us know why.
Yeah,
let us know that we're actually idiots and we didn't see all the complexities and all the character engagements.
If it turns out something like they're just like using the gas for the main continent to screw with everyone's heads, I'm going to be actually pissed about this.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little strange. All I can say is I hope next week fixes it.
Let's hope.
Yeah. So that's it for our weekly stuff. We are going to briefly just touch on if there was anything special from any of the other weekly animes that we watched, some of the episodes. And we're not going to go into every single one we watched, just if there was any high points. or anything that came out as a twist of something that we don't cover weekly.
Yeah, which I don't think there was a whole lot this week. I mean, there's still a couple shows I have to catch up on just because it's been a busy week. But
Yeah, I think the only one we definitely wanted to briefly talk about Kuma 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 Bear.
yes.
I wanted to mention there was something I really liked. We won't talk about the By God's Grace or really because you haven't seen the newest episode
Correct.
yet. We both did watch what's it called?
Tonikawa?
Akudama Drive.
Oh, Akudama Drive. Yeah, that's another one I'd probably want to talk about a little bit. So,
Yeah, so someone in the comments did write that it's the same people that did like Danganronpa,
which I mean, it's pretty obvious in the art style.
yeah, which makes sense for sure. It's still I'm still unsure about the show. This episode had a lot of action still.
Yeah.
It had some cool characters when they introduced like the executioners. You know, because the thing is when you introduce us all these characters who are super overpowered,
Yeah.
there's no threat to them. You need to quickly give us a threat to know that like, you know, and then these two executioners come in, one male, one female, and they like actively fight all of them in their own sense and win.
Yeah,
So-
which I mean, it establishes things like the courier isn't actually that strong. He just uses a shotgun to shoot people.
Yeah, and his bike. His bike's strong, so he's less
Oh,
strong when
yeah.
he doesn't have his bike with him.
Yeah,
They do also establish like some of the world. They do like that little puppet play thing that shows off basically there's the two parts of Japan.
You've got Kanzai and Kanto.
Yeah, like nuke middle kind of thing, poisonous area.
Yeah.
Only one way to get into. I think it's Kanto is the good one.
Yes.
Kanto's like the godly area. Only one way to get into there, and
it's on the train that everyone worships.
yeah, and that's kind of their plan basically. Like the thing of the season is they need to beat the train. Like
They have to get in and basically steal a vault.
yeah, there's a very specific mission they're told about from the mastermind in this, and that's kind of leading up to the season, and then you still get some. You know, they're in a hotel talking about it when then they get attacked by the executioners, and then they go to another setting where then they're around there, and yeah, you don't get like tons of new character development or anything like that. You just kind of get a little bit of the lore, a little bit of the plot.
I mean, you get a little bit like, Cutthroat like adopts the swindler girl.
Yeah,
kind of.
Are you assuming it's because she has red in her hair?
She has pink in her hair.
Is it pink though?
It is. He even says pink. Like pink's not as vibrant as red.
See,
Then
I thought he was saying that because she wears pink. I wasn't sure if
Maybe.
it might have been. I don't want to. I'm gonna look it up while we talk here just to see
The
'cause
way
it's
the art style works and the way the
art
lighting
style
is,
and the lighting. The lighting is the big one in that
yeah,
show.
I have no idea what color half the stuff is because of the lighting.
Someone mentioned this in the last one that I always spell it wrong, and so even right now, as I'm doing it, I'm probably spelling it wrong because it's Akudama Drive. No, it's Akudama Drive.
You said that the same way.
Okay, so there's Akudama, so like AKADUMA, which is the wrong way that I keep doing it, or there's Akudama, so it's switching around a U and an A, which is what I keep saying. I'm just gonna Google it because he was looking up at her, and like so I was like, oh, there's not really. I can't think of another reason where all of a sudden he's like obsessed with her. Even
I
though,
thought he just kind of accepted pink as a nice color, but
it's hard to tell. I guess you could argue that's pink. Her like eyes are pink though too. I don't know.
yeah, it's kind of ready.
So yeah, I don't know. Basically, he's talking to her about how like pink's okay. He's like it's a mix of red and white.
Yeah, it's not as vibrant, but
this
okay.
this is immediately after too, where like we obviously see they keep talking in the episode about how he's like he's insane. Let's get that out of the way.
Which I do want to know, like, why was it such a big deal that they caught him when the executioners roll up and just immediately bitch slap him?
Yeah, he did like nothing in that fight.
Yeah,
but
the guy grabbed him, threw his knife at the window, and he got thrown
he's like,
out
"Oh, my
after him.
knife!" But yeah, the funny part is just that his like obsession with red. You know, he calls people like flowers when he kills them. I think it's just because blood sprouting out of their body.
Yeah, and even when they're on they call it a bus, but it's a blimp.
Yeah, when he's on the blimp, he's literally just like red, and he starts hitting everything that's red, and then he walks up to the emergency button, and he's just like red, and like smokes it.
Yeah, which I do want to know what kind of emergency button engages turbo boosters.
In case of emergency, turbo boost.
What is going on here that you need to run away that fast?
Hijacking, and they're trying to connect to your flying bus. And I
Yes,
don't know, but yeah, it's kind of funny. That's his trait. He just loves red.
Yeah.
So then when he's talking to the main girl, and he's like, "Oh, pink's okay because it's like a mix of red and white," and then he like kind of like looks at her, and like looks up a little bit. Is what I was looking at his eyes, and he's like, "I like you." He's like, "I'm obsessed with you now," and it's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
She's
It's
like, "No."
definitely weird.
She's like, "Why?" And then like later, she has like blood on her face.
And he just
and
licks it off.
He
It's like,
licks it off.
Okay.
So he's like, "I'll go if you go," and I'm like, "Oh dear God, he's attached." But the thing is, he's obsessed with red. So I'm trying to figure out what about her was so red. Most of what she's wearing is like pink. Her hair is questionably either pink or red in the stripes, and she has pink eyes, based off what I've seen.
I'm willing to bet it's something to do with pink and him just associating pink and red together.
Maybe, yeah. But you got a couple different character quirks. Like the doctor at one point literally dies.
Yeah, they cut off her head, and her arm.
And then she's alive in the next scene. The guy's like, "How are you alive?" And she's like, "I self-medicated." And then it just shows like the stitching on her
Yeah.
neck. I was like, okay, like this is one of those anime. It's not to be taken that seriously.
Yeah, it definitely has that Danganronpa 2 vibe.
Yeah, because one dude literally jumped like 100 feet and smashed his head into the window of the bus.
Yeah.
So it was very entertaining. Like it's definitely not something you're watching. Like, oh, I'm bored while watching this. It's
Yeah,
kind of like
it's-
action-packed entertainment the whole
It's
time.
visually busy and everything is actually quite nice to look at.
Yeah, it's all really colorful,
Like
really
the-
bright neons.
Yeah, the Executioner fight was all done with an undersea theme.
Yeah, the Executioner fight was done really well too. Because I mentioned this
Yeah.
last week about how like a lot of the anime isn't like doing very much right now with like fights.
Yeah.
Like especially like Noblesse was one of them. Like their fights are
Yeah.
very basic, like pretty generic, like nothing
Yeah.
special, no crazy animation. But then Jujutsu's doing well. Fire Force is always pretty well when they want to
Yeah.
be. And then I actually really liked this fight, so I was happy with that.
It's definitely a visually stunning show. I'm just the plot is the part that might get you.
Yeah, it's at this point it's led up to
So-
be almost like a heist in like a sense, where they're going to use the different combination skills of all of them: the brawler, the carrier, the courier, what the hell's name
Yeah,
is.
and this time she's like, "We'll bring in the swindler." And she's like, "You do realize I'm not actually a swindler, right?"
No. That's the big swindle. The twist at the end is going to be she actually is.
If it turns out she's actually in on all this, I'm actually going to be a little.
Well,
bit
in this
pissed.
episode, they mentioned the one place where like she has a lot of information on. She's like, "Oh yeah, I've
Yeah,
been there a
she's gonna
few
fucking
times."
Work there.
Yeah, she's like, "I've been there a few times." And the hacker's like, "Even I can't get in there. You are quite the swindler." It's going to be that she works there or something,
Yeah.
but that'll come in handy at some point at least.
I mean, yeah, and she'll probably just play it off and they'll all buy it. And
So it was an entertaining episode. The only reason it's still not on the list is because we still don't like. It's too early to understand exactly where it's going, and
it's a little hipster.
yeah, a little hipster. And like once again, most of it's probably going to be fights. Many of the episode,
Yeah.
and there's not as much to talk about if something's either all not fight, like a slice of life, or if it's all fight.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably going to end up in this section a lot where we're just kind of going over the week's animes, but what we don't normally list. So.
Yeah, because it'll probably have a lot of highlight episodes. There'll probably be a lot of episodes where it's just like this fight between Executioner and this one character
Yeah.
that'll be really cool. So it'll be mentioned in like a couple of the weekly highlights. The other big one we want to talk about was Kuma 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 Bear.
Yeah, the big twist that it actually is an isekai.
Yeah, it is. So there's still a few questions on how exactly it works, but it shows the very first time, because I already knew reading the description. It mentions, I think I mentioned this last episode, that she gets like a legendary, like a bear costume, which is what makes her so strong.
Yeah, she logs in and said, "Hey, was it something like she spent the most time in that world?" Or
It was just like a survey, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, it was like you did a survey and yeah, pick an item. And
Yeah,
it's
there was like 100 different boxes or more, and they're like, just pick one at random, and then she
Yeah.
picks one.
and it's like it's bear gear. She's like, "Well, I'm never going to use this." So
Yeah, it was. I think it was based off the survey answers too, because they're like, "Oh, which do you like more, like the game world or like the real world?"
yeah,
And it kind of like zoomed in on the person's like face asking. She's like, "Oh, like the game world, obviously," kind of thing. And
Yeah.
then from there, so she is given the bear costume and the bear weapons, and she lands in, and then she quickly finds out that it's not like a game anymore.
yeah. She doesn't have her menu. She doesn't have her stuff.
Yeah,
she
there's-
has her money.
Yeah, there's no way to log out. Yeah, as soon as she needs it, she gets a message to be like, "All your money has been transferred from the other world." It's not the same world that she played
Yeah.
the game in. It's all separate. So then what that implies is like the first episode we saw, because at one point in the first episode, she logs out, stands up from the bed, talks about her life a little bit, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that was probably a flashback. But was that part of the game a flashback? Is like the question, like where she helped out with the Black Viper? Was
I
that
don't think it was.
so? Was that the current world she lives in? Because like there was like the guild and all that kind of
I
stuff.
think it was a red herring. I think it was very much she was in the world trapped there already.
Like those two scenes were unrelated. The scene where she
Yeah.
gets off of playing is a separate scene of sometime she played the old game. The scene where she's inside
Yeah.
the game is the current thing.
yeah, I feel like what the survey we got in this episode was based off of when she logged in that time.
So do you think the third episode is going to start with her after the Black Viper?
I don't know because we didn't see her dismantle her in the Black Viper episode.
No, but I mean, she just brought it. She kept it, which is now we understand why she'd keep it, and she
Yeah.
brought it to the guild. But yeah, we didn't see
True.
her there. But it might just not have been. She might not have been there, or
Yeah.
something along that lines. I guess that's one of the questions. I thought maybe it was the actual first game when she was there, because we
Yeah.
didn't see like the dismantler and stuff. But we definitely found out a lot of information about like the story. They talked about originally how like the
Yeah.
game kind of worked is one of the questions we wanted, which we learned it's not really a game.
Yeah.
And then I think episode 3 now might kind of tie in the questions we have about mix between 1 and 2, about like what the
Yeah.
situation is between the first and second one.
It'll probably straighten everything out. We'll probably see Dismantler Girl take care of the Black Viper.
Yeah, that'll kind of give us our hint. That'll
Which-
let
which-
us know.
I mean, I do want to know what kind of world you live in where butchering an animal consists of dismantling.
I mean, I guess that's the
It's
interesting
kind of a weird.
part.
It's kind of a weird term to use.
Yeah, she
But-
just cuts open like the wolves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you also get more information. Like the main character grows a little bit. You know, you get to see
Yeah.
more of her personality. You know, she doesn't like. It kind of explains more like the first episode. Like she doesn't like the bear costume, but it's just so
Yeah.
overpowered. Like
Plus,
she,
it's all she has in this world.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So they kind of go through her learning some of the things she has, the abilities she uses that we even see inside the first episode. Like when they talk about like the what is like the bear imagery or something like that.
yeah, everything's more powerful if you associate a bear with it.
Yeah, she uses that in like the first episode, and then in the second episode, we learn we like see her learning and like discovering and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So yeah, I think we need episode 3 as like a tie-in to kind of figure out exactly the situation of
Yeah.
like the first episode.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know if it was the best choice to lead episode 1 that way, but
It could be an interesting one if they tie it in well together in 3. I think it would be an okay choice because it kind of like
it would be. But I feel like you might have lost a few people when you kind of said like, "Hey, it's not an isekai; it's just someone playing a game." If they didn't like something like Bofuri,
Mhm.
and they were there specifically for that isekai,
Or
sort
they
of
were trying to
experience.
specifically avoid the people that hate isekais by being like, no, it's not an isekai, guys. Watch it. It's like she's just in a game, not an isekai. And they're
Yeah,
like,
but
"Ah,
that-
just kidding, isekai."
Yeah, then you
And
lose
then
them in
they're,
episode
they're
2.
already attached. They've seen one episode, they're already attached.
I mean, are you that attached?
Cute girl in a
to this?
bear costume. I kind of am attached to it. Yeah, it's
I mean,
it's entertaining.
You're a bad one to ask because you have a thing for isekais.
I do.
but-
Yeah, I really liked, especially like VR MMO isekais, which now
Yeah.
this isn't, but it still kind of
Yeah, it
is.
still technically is. It was a VR MMO, and now she's just kind of stuck there.
Yeah, so it was an entertaining episode. It had some cool information, big twist, and then
Yeah.
yeah, I think next episode will hopefully give us a little more information.
And I guess the other thing I do want to mention about it, it's kind of nice to see an isekai where they actually chose to be there.
Yeah, she actively. I mean, some of the stuff about like Sword Art, for instance, like Kirito probably still would have chosen if he was given the choice.
Yeah, there was very much a, I hate the real world, I want to be in the game.
Yeah.
But I mean, he didn't choose to hit that button. Cautious Hero got pulled there against his will.
Did you finish Cautious Hero yet?
I haven't.
Oh, dear
Look
God.
at how much I have to watch.
Oh dear God, Jimmy, the twist. Okay, I can't discuss it though. Too many twists. Well, we'll have a discussion episode just about the end of that show.
Yeah.
Because it was such a big turnaround.
Yeah, we'll just do a big discussion on isekais one day. I think.
Yeah, it's true. Because with like Bofuri and stuff like that, a lot of good conversation.
Yeah, I mean, there's even some more sleeper hits like Grimgar, Fantasy and Ash, and stuff like that.
I
But
really did like Infinite Dendrogram as like a VR MMO,
That's
kind of isekai.
That's on my list right after Cautious Hero. So
Just as like a good relaxing show. But
Yeah.
yeah, so the Kuma 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 Bear was a good episode.
Yeah.
If you're not watching it already and you don't think it's your thing, give it a try. It might be your thing. Plus, it's only a 2-episode commitment right now, so
sure.
it's easy to quickly find out. If you're a guy who doesn't like isekais, look at it like it's a VR MMO anime. And if you're a guy who only likes isekais, well, it's technically an isekai now, so you're good. Is there anything else of the specific weekly stuff you wanted to talk about?
Nothing crazy. I still haven't got around to Sleepy Princess because we weren't going to talk about it, so I prioritized other things.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
everything
if
else.
that makes sense. We have a lot of stuff to watch, so
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, even if, for instance, like Noblesse, we talked about not having astounding episodes, not really directly looking forward to them.
Because it is topical.
But if I only have 20 minutes, like right before the episode of the podcast, then I have to watch, an anime I really like, and then there's Noblesse. It's like I have to kind of choose Noblesse. So,
Yeah.
like, I haven't seen. I still really wanted to watch the gymnastics anime yet, which I haven't got to see
yeah,
yet.
it's,
I,
Samurai of Gymnastics, right?
yeah, I still need to watch like Talentless Nana or
Yeah.
Nana, whatever it is.
Yeah, which I am an episode behind on that one as well, which is actually probably one of the ones I didn't expect to like that I'm really enjoying so far.
I still haven't watched Moriarty's Parrot. I haven't watched that one that I sent you the other day that seemed like had like a very German name.
Oh, yes. The one that Funimation was screwing around with.
Yes, yeah, I haven't got to watch that yet because there was just so many of these things I had to
Yeah.
watch just in case we talked about them. Tonikawa, I actually really liked the newest episode.
It is, and as you mentioned earlier, actually, it's a
Crunchyroll original. It
Yeah.
snuck up on me. I didn't somehow realize that until maybe just because I was watching like the ending on this one, but
Yeah.
it just came up and I was like, oh, cool. Didn't realize.
Because I mean, I feel like Crunchyroll usually does a lot of advertising for the originals, and this one didn't really get that.
The two things about Tonikawa I remember liking in this episode was one, the Shokugeki reference when she's
Yeah.
cooking for him, and then two, in the bathhouse when he's like, oh, this is the anime bathhouse episode.
Yeah.
He's like, this is where I just go about my normal life and then I get to see my wife naked. He's like, perfect.
Which is definitely a weird statement in and of itself.
Yeah, I understand his concept. If it was just like, if he didn't have the wife and it was like, this is the where I go about my daily life and I accidentally see a girl naked, I'm like, that is very anime.
I mean, the thing is, though, he goes to this bathhouse all the time.
Yeah.
So
I also like the ending, the whole confusion part of him, her just wanting him to say that she's pretty because she's a little jealous,
Yeah.
and him thinking that she means that she wants the wedding with the ring and the ceremony.
Yeah, which I do think there is going to be something with the older sister character.
Mhm.
I have a feeling like she was expecting him to him to marry her.
Well, because one of the younger sisters like, oh, like don't tell her. Maybe not, but maybe she just like likes him a lot, and
yeah,
which I'm assuming is it because she's like, he saved their lives in like a sense financially.
well, yeah, he literally just rolled up, saved a business.
Yeah, I like the aspect of now we have these girls introduced that probably like it's kind of implied like the younger sister has a crush on him too.
Probably,
And by younger,
feel like
I mean she's only 1 year younger than his wife. So
I mean, yeah, she's kind of a bitch though.
I'm also curious as to if we're going to see the girl go to school because she's only 16. Is this like the
don't
summer
know.
right now? Like also the very
'Cause,
ending.
I mean, schooling is optional at that point. You don't have to go to high school in Japan. It's
Yeah.
strongly advised.
But yeah, we also don't. She hasn't mentioned working, so.
I mean, she's a wife now. She doesn't have to.
The thing is, too, at the very end, it shows there's a limo kind of pulls up with this young girl, calls her Nissan, and then
Yeah, we've got the Ojo-sama who rolled up.
so it's either like a girl who just like really likes her, and she kind of calls her because it's Japan, right? You can call
Yeah.
people older sister in like a sense without actually meaning it literally.
Yeah, it has definitely a different context than what we're used to.
Or it could literally be her older sister. She's from a rich family who ran away, and like
I mean, she had her parents' permission to get married though, unless she forged that.
she probably did.
Oh, we don't know. We don't know anything about this character really. Other
Yeah,
than she
at
can
least
tank a hit
so.
from a car.
So the good part of the next episode then is even whether or not it's an actual sister or just like a friend, we're going to learn something about the main female character because we know about the male character, right? We know about his personality, how he grew up, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, we know why he got his name. Like that's a pretty big thing for a lot of characters.
Yeah, we
so-
know nothing about her though, so this next episode will give us a little more stuff about her. It was a good episode though. Tonikawa has been entertaining so far. Same thing though. It's hard to talk about like a romance or slice of life weekly. It's easy to bring up just a couple seconds of your favorite parts,
Yeah,
but
once it's just like character introductions, things like that, it's definitely doable. But seems the rest of it's just references.
yeah, they do a lot of references on
Yeah,
the show.
like there was even the whole like, what do I just compare your skin to? An iPhone X. It's like,
oh yeah, right. I remember that too.
it's like okay, you're first of all you're dating.
Yeah, she's like,
yourself
oh,
a
your
little bit.
skin's like silk, and she's like, wait a minute, silk is like a excrement of like a silkworm. He's like, that's kind of
Yeah.
gross. What can I compare it to? Your skin
Yeah.
looks like an iPhone X, and she's like, thanks, that's kind of a compliment, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, again, this brings it back to that. It's probably the same guy who did Hayate the Combat Butler, and I'm getting a lot of the same comedy vibes here.
But even like a lot of the anime this season has made a lot of references. Like with Jujutsu, they reference like Jennifer Lawrence, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like I guess it's kind of like the cool thing right now,
I mean, I guess even now that's more of an accepted medium, they can kind of get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
No one's gonna look like Jennifer Lawrence isn't gonna hear. Wait, I was referred to in an anime. Sue those people.
Yeah. How dare they mention me in that weeby shit?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun episode. I'm gonna try and catch up on stuff like Talentless Nana, just so we can talk about it. And then I won't talk about the Sleepy Princess episode this week because you haven't seen it yet. But next week we'll talk a little bit more about Sleepy Princess if something fun happens or if another cute
Yeah,
episode.
that's gonna be a priority, and I'm definitely gonna work a little bit more on Haikyuu. And
Oh yes, IQ. Yeah, I would
yeah, I know
love.
you're itching to talk about that.
Yeah, I would love to talk about Haikyuu one day, especially because I've seen some of the manga and where it goes and the arcs and stuff like that. It's just all insane. Yeah,
Hey, you're gonna be in the position I was in with Rent a Girlfriend, aren't you?
yeah. Well, I don't actually read the manga. I could not avoid spoilers.
Yeah.
Because it was just too interesting. This is like all the times when I was on these Haikyuu breaks where I saw something on YouTube. I was like, well, I need to know what happened.
Yeah, true.
Doesn't take
I
away
get
from the
it.
anime. It's still really good, really hype. There's always these big moments.
Yeah, there's always that quality behind it. And the thing with sports anime is you always have an idea of what's going on. So
Mhm. Yeah, it's like you can normally guess whether a team's going to win or lose in certain parts. So it doesn't really, like the manga's not a big spoiler saying that they lost this game. Most of the time I know just based off how many episodes are left of the season or something like that,
Yeah.
if they're going to win or lose. It's more just like the journey while watching it is
Yeah.
is the important part.
they never win the tournament in the opening arc. That's how
Yeah,
it
like they're
goes.
never going to do that. And if there's only one episode left of the season, they're only on like the second, they're in like the second part of the tournament. Guess what? They're not going to save the next season for the second part. They
Yeah.
only will do that specifically if there's like a championship match or something like that. So you can always guess based off of that. But yeah, I love Haikyuu. If you catch up, we'll definitely talk about that eventually.
Oh yeah,
And I think other than that, that's pretty much it for the week.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you've made it this far, if there was a certain part you watched, just once again, like, subscribe, leave a comment. A lot of the formats of comments people have been leaving so far is they just say like the show and then they leave a comment with the show. And they'll do it for like 4 or 5 or how many of the episodes they're watching. So that's kind of cool. I like that because then I go in and I comment back and I just like do the same kind of thing. I'm like, oh, for this, for this part of this, and that's the point, right? Discussion.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, just like, subscribe, leave a comment, and then yeah, if you haven't, turn on notifications too. We'll probably be uploading around the same time every single week. This video will probably upload it later tonight, or possibly early tomorrow, just so everything's still kind of fresh.
yeah.
And other than that, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week. I've been Cam,
I've been Jimmy.
and peace, guys. Take it easy. Enjoy all the weekly anime.
Peace.